here. We haven't talked in probably a year and a half or something. It's good.
I know you guys got a little introduction. What's going on? Today, we're going to talk with an expert on markup to get to the bottom of this controversy that's been going on in the markup world and the poker world with Sean Deeb, Doug Polk, Johnny Vibes. We're also going to be figuring out, and I get this question a lot, how does a top poker player or even somebody great at poker transition and go to becoming a successful businessman? We're going to talk all about that with Mike, who has done that quite well with his business Pokershares. And yeah, that's it. What's up, guys? Jungleman, aka Chicago Joey here. Reminder, guys, we did a couple podcasts this week. We had Barry Greenstein on, and we had Matt Berkey on earlier this week. I also posted a couple short clips on the channel that people seem to be enjoying. Seem to be enjoying one of them. The other one they kind of fucking hate. But one of them they really enjoy. So I'll probably post more of those best of kind of moments on there as well, too. Next week, we have one of the top Nolan Holm players in the entire world. Online poker player, high stakes regular on Pokerstars, goes by the name Born to Tilt from Belarus. That's going to be a good one. And then I'm pretty sure I'm going to be putting up the World Series of Poker video about what to do at the World Series Poker, the kind of like the video for beginners or noobs or even experienced people on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, hopefully we get my girl Poker Sasha on the podcast. That's it. Joining me today, guys, is a young man who's most well known for a lot of different things, maybe most well known for his ice cold stare that he brings to the poker table when he goes plays poker. Maybe he's known for being the person who is an expert on markup and then started an actual business. And I don't know if anyone's actually winning money on the site, but I know Mike's winning money on the site, Pokershares, and maybe a recent expansion that we're going to talk a little bit more about too. Or he might be known for that clip I posted yesterday where he lost to Jamie Gold on his 18th birthday when he had the braces. And I mean, you can't be the best known for that, but that's a fucking hilarious clip, man. So we're joined today by the man himself, Mike Timex McDonald. Actually, cryptocurrency enthusiast as well, too. I left that out.
Yeah, thanks. It feels good. It feels good to be on the podcast. This is that you're always extremely good at the introductions, but that, my friend, is like probably the best introduction I've gotten. Yeah, that's I don't know what to say after all that. You covered the life story and everything. How's it going?
I feel I'm doing well, but I feel like I left a few things out with you because there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, no, I'm a pretty busy guy overall, I suppose. It's just when I was playing poker, it was such a huge part of my life, and hey, now that I'm not, it's a lot of free time to do other things. So yeah, I've just I've been focused on some other stuff.
Mike, why don't you tell the people a little bit about, I mean, most people out there know you, but at the same time, maybe, we got a lot of these new people to YouTube who might not be super familiar with your past in poker. So why don't you kind of tell people a little bit about, kind of that transitional point where you were one of the top tournament players in the world, very focal member of the community in the online poker world and live poker world. And then you decided to transition over to your business Pokershares and kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I guess basically, I was always a pretty good tournament player, I suppose. And, different stages of my career, sometimes would have been, world class, sometimes maybe not so much, I suppose. But basically I was kind of, I'd always sort of felt there were, some things, I thought there was an opportunity to be had by allowing betting on poker. You have betting on every sport, and poker just seems like the most natural one. And, no one was really touching it. And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I kind of figured this seems like a good area to focus on. And I've always been kind of the type of person who I'd rather do one thing well rather than two things poorly. And I don't think there's that much room to be trying to excel with this business and build it properly while also trying to keep up with a lot of these poker players who are, younger, smarter, harder working than I am, more talented, etc. And it's just like, it doesn't, it's difficult to do a lot of things. So I kind of, I always envisioned throughout my poker career, like I always wondered like how my poker career will end, I suppose. And I figured it would be a much more gradual thing, like sort of over 5 years, cut back by 25% each year or something. But, it was just kind of, summer 2016, I was a poker pro, and fall 2016, I wasn't, kind of thing. It was just sort of just kind of stopped. And, it's now I'm just, focused on other things. And it's been long enough that I often almost forget about this chapter of my life. Like, if I go by a poker tournament and, someone asks for an autograph or something, there's like my knee-jerk reaction is just like, yo, I'm just a dude. Like I don't being a good poker player is no longer a part of my like self-concept or who I am, or it's very strange kind of thinking about what my poker life was like versus my post-poker life, I suppose.
Yes, you've been out of it since 2016, right? So the main focus has been business or something else since 2016?
Yeah, so yeah, basically since then I've been I guess Pokershares launched January 2017, and then there was, I mean, prior to that there was kind of a few months of doing a fair bit of DFS, and then I've also the last couple of years have been getting very involved in like the cryptocurrency space, and just in general just kind of thinking about a lot of things beyond poker. Actually, the one thing that's come up a little bit the last sort of 5 months or so is definitely since leaving poker, there is that kind of kind of like a void that used to be filled with competition, I suppose. Like especially tournament poker, you're either winning or you're losing, kind of. And a couple of years away from that, I think I definitely grew to miss that. So prior to poker, I played a lot of chess as a kid, and the last sort of 5 months, I picked up chess again, which has been honestly really fun. Like I loved that as a kid, and pretty much as soon as I found poker, I was like, oh, I can make money playing this. I can't make money playing chess. Let's stick with poker. And then did that for 14 years or whatnot. And then it's fun kind of picking up where I left off in chess. So I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Chess, huh? I can see you being a good chess player, Mike.
Yeah. I as you know, I like to play chess up in a tree, play chess on the board. I very much enjoy playing chess.
Very old school reference right there. We haven't made that one about a year and a half, so I'm glad Mike picked up on that. But yeah,
all
Mike,
right. That one's been phased out, eh?
No, that one got phased out a little bit. Yeah, the whole chess reference. We didn't talk about chess very often. I feel like we went through a chess run of guests, and then the chess joke worked into the lexicon of the podcast. I think I used that right. I'm not even sure if I did. And then now it just kind of faded away a little bit, and we're not playing chess no more around here. I don't know. Maybe I used to be a bigger chess player than I am now, and now I'm more focused on regulars. I like to play against regular matches rather than go to the park and just take on any comers that come up to the table. So
fair enough. Yeah, it is. It's nice to kind of face stiff and equal competition every once and again. Like picking off the easy competition. It's not so fun. It can get boring after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's nice to get those victories under your belt during the chess matches when you're younger. But as you get older, maybe it's time you try to find a little bit higher quality of opponents and maybe play against the solvers and the bots a little bit, kind of see how they adjust your strategy, and then kind of get out there. I know chess has a lot of those programs. So, I mean, I think chess, when I was playing checkers, when I was a competitive checkers player online, with not many people actually know about, but I was very, very competitive in the checkers world for a long time when I was in my teens. And there'd always be this program called Checkerboard, or that you could play against. That was like, I'd always play the minute matches, the 1-0 they're called. And then so I'd play against the program and test it, and the program would always beat your ass. And then I played chess for a little bit, and I would play against the program a lot, and obviously got no chance against those guys. Destroy you. So do you like testing yourself against those bots and against the AI computers and solvers at chess too?
So chess computer, like, so in poker, it's something where even if poker computers are a good bit better than humans, you can still have a winning session of poker, or a winning day, or maybe even a winning week if you're really talented and really lucky or whatnot. But it's just in chess, when it's deterministic, like it's very difficult to beat a computer. Like, I think that I'd need to play a trillion games before I beat a computer or whatnot. So it's not and that would be beating it because of luck rather than skill. So it's basically I don't really play against computers. I use computers kind of for analyzing what I've done wrong. But even there, a lot of times, you can't. So in some scenarios, you can't even really learn from the computers, because their ability is so much more than yours, that if you see what mistake they say you made, that doesn't necessarily mean you can recreate that and learn next time. You kind of need to learn what works for like your weak little brain, rather than what works for their big powerful brain. So a lot of people, they get into these habits of trusting the computer moves too much, when in reality a computer says a move is good for a reason they can't comprehend, and you sometimes need to be wary of that. Like I think a lot of top chess players try to, do computer analysis for the things that they can relate to, and in some situations even will avoid the computers because it can be like a crutch, I suppose. So, in poker, in poker you can in poker I feel like you can emulate a computer strategy without understanding it much better than you can in chess.
Have you ever watched that documentary about the Go player, the Go and the machine that learned Go? I think it was Go, Alpha Go or something like that. You ever see that thing?
So I haven't watched the documentary. I was watching those matches in real time. I was really into it. Like the one day my friends wanted to go to a strip club, and I was watching the AlphaGo matches in the strip club. So I'm like, I was very into the AlphaGo thing, and I'm very I should watch the documentary. But yeah, I find it's interesting seeing what computers are capable of, and I thought it was so cool how both Go and poker, in 2015, 2016, there was kind of this belief that, hey, these games are so computationally difficult and they're the types of games that humans are good at and computers are bad at. It'll be 20 years before either one, falls. And then they both fell and fell badly. It was like there was, the Libratis match wasn't even close. The AlphaGo match wasn't even close. And it was just, it's pretty humbling to see just how powerful computers are, even at things that we think computers won't be good at.
Mm-hmm.
So how was the documentary?
I forgot I got to save this actual kind of non-poker related, maybe a little bit smarter discussion for a little bit later in the podcast when all the dorks leave, because the dorks kind of come on here the first part and they want the title, they want whatever. So let's talk about the business. And you started the business because you are an expert at these prices. I mean, you are. I don't care. I'm going to call you an expert because I don't think anyone could start a business like that if they weren't great at setting what markup players should or shouldn't be having, correct?
I mean, anyone can start a business on anything. I like to think I'm more knowledgeable about this than most. And also, even after I've left poker, I've done a pretty good job of staying very close to the action and having, first of all, having kind of various like databases showing different people's history, showing different people's ability, and also staying current by talking to more current players regarding who's been improving, who's been getting worse, and things like that. So it's something I try to stay very informed on, I suppose.
So there's been a big recent controversy these past, just in markup in general. I feel like we had Sean Deeb step up as the markup police, and this came, I believe, from a Johnny Vibes is a Twitch streamer. I'm not sure, or no, sorry, not Twitch streamer. He's a vlogger on YouTube. I'm kind of thinking of something else in my mind about Twitch. Shout to Lex Veldhouse. And so he listed a package that I think it was like 1.4-ish or something like that, 1.34, 1.4, something around there. And I guess some people, Sean Deeb, took, had an issue with the wording used potentially in it. And they said, oh, this can't be accurate. There's no way this is the ROI. And Doug Polk sort of chimed in and talked about it. And it was a big thing in the poker world for a couple weeks. And it's kind of died off now a little bit. But the idea of the debating markup and should people sell at, if they can get to markup, should they sell it to markup, or do they have a responsibility to the people buying their action to sell it at the 1.3 or 1.2 or whatever's a fair deal for both sides? And obviously, as someone who's thought about this more than probably 99.9% of people in the world, what's sort of your take on the idea of I kind of know your take, calling people out for what you believe to be too high of markup and sort of maybe using the words like unethical or a scam?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess basically, it's so. I mean, I was like way before Pokershares. I think I first tried shorting someone in like 2009 or a really long time ago. And I've always definitely been a bit of a hater on people charging too much markup. And I think it was one of those things like I basically sort of realized like, hey, I can't correct anything by just like, yelling at clouds or anything. Let's actually try to do something. And, I think actually betting on this has corrected the market to an extent. I would guess beyond just, the volume of Pokershares, I think there's probably been a lot more volume where I've, played it could be I've, our business has removed a quarter of bad investments over the last, several years. Like maybe that's giving ourselves too much credit, but I think I think we've, kind of helped regulate the market a little bit. But then to go to the unethical and the scam, poker's a bit interesting where our job, like basically the way that we approach money and the way that we approach things is that we're all bottom line driven, and we're all trying to make the most money that we can, and then we also kind of use selling action as trying to do the same. Like we would want our friends to give us a profitable investment, etc. But like if you equate it to anything else, it's not as if if I'm selling car tires and a guy comes in and pays me $1,200 for car tires, it's not like I'm a scammer because the guy next to me is selling them for 900 kind of thing. It's like the kind of the nature of business is largely just getting people to pay more for things than you had to pay for them yourself. So it's something where I think scam is a bit of a stretch, but I think unethical is largely true, because I think that especially when there's an information disparity, it's somewhat unfair. Like if someone's buying in you because they trust you and they trust your ability, then that's they're kind of buying the person rather than buying the investment. So it's kind of like if you're selling only to informed investors, I think it's not that unreasonable to just charge what you want. But especially if you're selling friends, family, people that aren't that financially savvy and are more buying you than they are buying the investment itself, then I think you're very much kind of putting I think it's quite unethical to sell to those people. But yeah, I mean, I think I think there's kind of an understood thing. There should be room for profit when selling packages, but at the end of the day, I can also see that most you bought that microphone, you bought that think outside the box artwork. Like the people that sold you those things are probably laughing all the way to the bank at the margins they made off of you. Like you probably paid like $29.99 for that think outside the box, and it was probably made in like a Chinese sweatshop for 10 cents or something. So it's just like there's that's kind of just how things are, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very, it's funny. That's how business works. And we have the phone charger guys in the Rio who, like they're selling at about 1,000% markup. Shout out to them. Actually, I did meet with the phone charger owner guy, and said he would like to give me some products and show me the quality of it. And we talked about maybe doing a podcast before the series got going to talk about what went down last year at the Rio. But you think about that, and that markup's really high. And then in poker, it's very weird in that poker people have this big issue. I've kind of been thinking about this a lot more since it came down, because I never really concerned myself much with this idea. And we've had things written on both sides where, okay, people should be able to charge whatever they want to charge. So to me, when I look at what business is like out there and I see people charging whatever the fuck they want to charge for things, and if they charge too much, people don't buy it. I kind of see that same thing for poker. I guess, what are you going to do about it? Like, there's not going to be an actually active police unless you're very well known. Then someone might say something. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are selling at 3 markup that don't even play poker, that have a few friends that don't understand how betting works and stuff like that. So I don't think this problem or issue is ever going to go away. So I can understand someone like Sean taking a vocal stance, or Doug taking a vocal stance against something they perceive to be a little bit out of line. But I mean, if you're going to do that, there's a lot of people you got to yell at out there too, because you can go through the Stake Kings and see the packages, and some of these packages, I'm sure people are going to find a little bit out of line. And I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with if these prices are out of line or in line or whatever. So I don't know if we're ever going to come to a consensus as a community on what the best way to approach this situation is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, there's things won't hit efficiency, and it's just whatever market you're looking at, if you look at the biggest markets in the world, whether it's like the real estate market or the stock market or the bond market or whatever it happens to be, there are still people building these I don't even know the numbers, 10, 11, 12, 13 figure companies in these environments. The money's coming from somewhere, and it's just markets aren't efficient. Like people talk about things, can't be beaten or whatnot, but they're, things that, people are making profit in different environments. And the idea that, if the poker world, let's say ignore super high rollers, maybe the poker world has, I don't know, like $1 billion of investment per year that goes through all tournaments or something. Like there's no fucking way that the infrastructure can get set up to make sure that, like, it's like just too small of a market to like get to efficiency. Like you would just need so much work done for so like little being focused on this or whatnot. So it's just like you just can't get these things to where everyone's fairly priced, and I don't think anyone should expect that or whatnot. I don't know. It's just kind of a lot of guys just kind of want to buy from their friend, and it doesn't matter if they can buy him 20% cheaper somewhere else. They just kind of want to buy from their friend. It's just I just kind of think it's I think as much as we've kind of played a role in markups coming down, you can't change the market yourself or anything. And it's definitely, and I also think it's a lot of people overestimate the importance of Pokershares, I guess. Some people are like, how can you sell at 1.3? You're 1.2 on Pokershares. Like, we're just a team of people pricing these, and it's our opinion against his opinion. And it's kind of, I do think it's hypocritical if someone's, selling at 1.3 and not buying at 1.2 or whatnot. I would like, if in the majority of circumstances, I would like if these guys were to open up more volume on themselves by buying themselves on our site so they can resell for higher or whatnot. But most people don't really put their money where their mouth is, or don't even consider that an option, or their egos, they're too butthurt because we shorted them or whatnot. But it's just it's just our opinion against another. When you see the odds of a sports game, like that's what the market thinks, but the market isn't necessarily right. And and in this case, it's not even really a market, because there's just so, it's just our guess. Like, it's not as if we're like, oh, a lot of people are longing Sean Deeb, okay, we've got to short him more. Like we're a one-sided market at that. And it's so it's definitely people shouldn't take our word as law, basically.
Are you sure we shouldn't?
I mean, it's
not what people do. They take the sports bet books. They take the lines that the books bet, and that's what other people bet on too. That's what they use as their bets, and they kind of do take that as law.
Yeah, I mean, I guess basically when I've spent so much of the last few years gambling so much money on so many different things, and routinely against very sharp people, often people sharper than myself, you realize just how often you're getting the worst of it. So it's just, anybody who just thinks they're right without, gambling on everything, if they were to start gambling on everything, they'd pretty quickly realize how routinely they're wrong about various things. And I would say that Pokershares has in a lot of ways been quite humbling, as far as some of the guys who come out of the woodwork to test our lines and see guys were overestimating, guys were underestimating. And there's, it's definitely like when you're not betting on easy things, when you're not betting on things, it's easy to think, oh, you're the smartest guy in the room or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then, you put something up, and you price 15 guys, and you feel a little bit emotional about someone that you think sucks. You price them down a little bit. All of a sudden, some large bettor who rarely bets is depositing and slamming the one guy that you made the emotional judgment on. And you can very much, you need to be pretty like regimented in how you do things when you're willing to bet on all your opinions, I suppose.
People in the chat are bringing this up too. I'm interested about this as well. So if you can buy yourself on Pokershares for 1.2 markup, but you can sell to other people at 1.4 markup, you're making money right there. Like, why wouldn't people do that?
I mean, most of the people that aren't beating 1.2 markup aren't that smart in the first place. Uh-huh. I mean, that's a little bit harsh, but I've definitely, we do have people that that arb themselves and whatnot. Or we do have people that, you know, just direct people to our site once they sell out or whatever it happens to be. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's, yeah, I mean, people who don't capitalize on arbs are some of the people I sort of look down on the most, where if you can just get, you know, unlimited liquidity, you know, you have a buyer and a seller, you know, who are both want to go through you, and you can make 2 or 5 or 20% or whatnot, you know, not doing that is like quite the head scratcher, I suppose.
So is that not out of line? That we're consider this in line, right? We can go do this. Like if I can go sell for the 10K PLO 1.5 and you got me on there 1.1, I can. That sort of thing's cool. You can just make that extra money, and no one has an issue about that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just like it just boils down to, yeah, I mean, you just have, yeah, buyers and sellers with different opinions. You know, you have a collection of, especially let's just say the guys who are investing in you are savvy PLO players who know your game. They're professional or semi-professional poker investors, and they believe you're good at 1.5 and say they're from America and can't use Pokershares or whatever it happens to be, and they, you know, can't use us as an option. Okay, you know, they think they're making a good buy. You think they're making a good buy, and you think you're making a really good buy through our site. You know, I don't think there's anything unethical there. If you're getting grandma to invest in you at a game that you don't really understand or whatnot, okay, well, now that's a situation where I think it's a little unethical to sell to someone who doesn't understand what they're buying. But if the guys buying you, basically, if the guys buying you are, you know, informed in their decision making, I don't think the presence of us having the opinion that you're worse than you think you are changes the ethics of it.
A little confusing, but I think some people out there might find it a little confused too. I've never sold at Markup before, so the idea, like, it makes intuitive sense to me, but I just haven't ever have any experience with it. I've never thought about it. Like every time I see a package and with Markup, I just never really thought much about it. Even with Pokershares, I've never gambled on the site. I've never wanted to short someone. I've never wanted to buy a piece of somebody. I very rarely bought any action of anyone unless they're like my friend and they say, hey, do you want? I say, okay, let me get one. Let me have one for fun, sort of thing like that. So I imagine I'm like other listeners out there who, when they hear this, like, it kind of makes some sense, but at the same time, you're like, this is, you know, and I think Doug explained it a little bit better, what the idea of what Markup is and what it means in terms of ROI. But even then, that made more sense, and I think I learned a little bit more about it. But when you're not actively thinking about this and when you're not actively doing it yourself, you know, I guess it can be a little bit challenging for people out there to understand.
Right. Yeah. No. It is a little bit complicated for sure, and it is like, yeah. I mean, it's not something that a lot of people are versed in or whatnot. It seems like something that's somewhat particular to poker. It's not as if you have, you know, it's not like you have Roger Federer goes in a tennis tournament, you know, the average payout 40K, and he's like, hey guys, like, I want to sell at 7.2 this time. You know, I need third or better to break even on the investment. You know, you don't have that in fields outside of poker. I mean, you very easily could in things like tennis, golf, or in a smaller stage, you know, things like darts or whatnot, or, you know, pool, you know, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just because we're all gamblers. It's more natural in our industry.
Mm-hmm. Leo said this topic's been saturated. I don't think so, because I still don't necessarily understand it that well. And I do think it's very, very important to have this discussion, because a lot of people have gotten in touch with me and asked me about it or had other thoughts on it too. So I feel like the community in general is very uninformed about this particular topic. And I think this is a good way for the community to become more informed about it one way or the other, whether it's you're selling it or whether you're buying it. Because I think there's a lot of people out there who were buying action and have absolutely, you know, really no idea what the fuck they're doing. And we could say, well, maybe they shouldn't be gambling on that, but we know poker players love to gamble. So if we can help them, me personally, if I can help them become a little bit more well-educated on what the hell they're doing from a buyer and a seller perspective, that's what I want to do. And also, you don't do it one podcast and that's it. You want to do it with more and more people to get more and more opinions on a particular topic and subject for you to better gauge, okay, like what do I think about it and what am I learning about it? And especially with somebody like Mike, who started a business based on this particular topic, I think he is a perfect person to ask more about this. So that's how I think about this, and that's the reason why I wanted to ask Mike about this. So
yeah, and it is definitely, yeah, I mean, I do think that a lot of people probably, yeah, underestimate just how bad some of their buys can be. It's really easy to pay. Like, I think the bigger issue than the high markups is just horrible people selling for difficult things. I think there's a lot of guys selling at 1.2 who are losing in the field plus rate. 1.2 players selling at 0.8 who are probably getting 0.85 back. There's so much of this, and especially in tournaments with pretty good structures, you end up in this scenario where even if you're winning on your day one table, or your day, like, you're winning 8 BB per 100 on day one, you're winning 3 BB per 100 on day two, or whatever it happens to be, you get down to the final 3 tables and you're losing 4 BB per 100, and you have like a low standard deviation because you're kind of scared, and you just kind of play the style where if you give your card distribution to like Fedor, he's always going to win, and you're always going to come 11th. And it's like the difference. Like, if your good run, say 11th pays 5% as much as first, that literally means you play this 1,000-person tournament. Okay, like 1 in 200 times Fedor is going to win it. Okay, that 1 in 200 times you're just going to come 11th, and like that affects your ROI so much. Even if your day one BB per 100 isn't that different from his, you get to it probably is pretty different from his, but like you get to these I mean, you just if you're losing when the money's on the line, it's pretty difficult for you to be a winner. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize that, hey, being the 3rd best player at your starting table isn't really worth much.
Yeah, Matt Vaughn said, fascinating. I've never heard someone use BB per 100 when talking about different stages of the tournament, but makes perfect sense. Yeah, I've never heard that either. I think, so I'll explain a little bit how I think about it as a not inexperienced tournament player, is that I go into it, and if I go to an event like the 10K PLO, even though I did almost final table last year, what you said is exactly me, in that when it's deeper stacked and I have more chips, I think that my big blind 100 is a lot higher. But on that day 3, when I'm short, when I'm 20 to 40 and under that, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what exactly my big blind 100 is, but I don't. It can't be that good simply because I have no experience in that situation. So when you think about pricing that, or when you think about what your win rate is, I think a lot of cash game PLO players think like, okay, well, I'm great deep stacked, I'm great 100 big blinds, I'm great these stack sizes, I know that very well. So of course I'm winning in this tournament, not necessarily thinking that, okay, what the hell, I don't have much experience between, and later in the tournaments, for the most part, that's what the stack size you're going to be at. You're going to be at effective 8 to 30. And very rarely higher with everyone at the table. So it's such a different game. And I guess as a buyer, you're looking for people who can navigate that end game structure and know how to actually win tournaments, and probably have experience winning tournaments as well too.
Exactly. Let's just try to oversimplify. Let's call it the 10K PLO, and let's try to oversimplify it into 2 different tournaments or something. So we'll call the one tournament the deep stack stages, and the other the short stack stages. And let's just say hypothetically, once you get in the money, everyone has the same stack size. Obviously that's not the case, but I'm just trying to oversimplify, and say you have 1 in 7 guys make it into the money. So you play this $10,000 tournament, and then 1 in 7 guys get into the money, get an average payout of 70K. I mean less because of rake, but let's just use as many simplifications as possible. Let's say you're more talented than most, so you get down to this $70,000 tournament 20% more than your share. Like most guys get in 1 out of 7 times, you get in about 1 out of 5.5, 1 out of 6 times kind of thing. Okay, so now on that $10,000 investment, you get there 20% more than average. Now your investment's kind of worth like $12,000 for that first tournament. But now say in that second tournament, you're playing a $70,000 tournament, and most of the fish are gone. Some of them will squeak through. A higher distribution of elite players are there, and now you're playing short stack, and the money really matters. So let's say in this $70,000 tournament, maybe you're worth $60,000 or something. So it's like you made that 20% initially, but now you're losing 14% here. Okay, these 2 tournaments average out. Maybe you're winning 5% in the tournament or something. And a lot of guys, it would be more drastic. Maybe they're winning 25% in the first tournament, but losing 35% in the next. And all of a sudden, you've got like a minus 20% ROI or something. So it's really, Yeah, the second tournament matters a lot more than the first tournament is, I guess, the general idea. And if you get down to heads up and say you're not comfortable heads up and you're always going to only win the heads up 40% of the time, that's pretty bad when you're playing for 30 buy-ins heads up or something. So it's a lot of these things can really affect your ROI if you can't play the high stakes stages of the tournament to among the best in the field.
I guess this might explain why a common thing we hear from cash players or from tournament players is that tournament players aren't as good deeper stacked, but they're a lot better shorter stacked. And it makes sense because that would seem to be the most important stage of a tournament where you should probably focus the majority of your thought, energy, effort, and study. And whereas it's completely different way at cash games. So that it makes a lot of sense why when you have those players kind of going to different game types that they might struggle with that. Because I think a lot of people that don't play tournaments don't really realize how important it is to win the tournament to be a successful tournament player. They just think, oh, if I cash a bunch, like that's cool, a couple min cashes, couple 3 times my buy-ins or whatever like that, but underestimating the importance of the final table and the importance of those top few prize pool places in those events. So
yeah, definitely. And then on top of this, you've got 6 to 15% rake in all of these things, and that I think the rate can often turn, I'm just going to pull out a random number, maybe turn a third of winners into losers. Like, let's just say 100-person tournament, 30 of the guys are better than average. Okay, well, only 20 of them are beating the rake kind of thing. So it's not like, that's just like a total, number I pulled out of my ass or whatnot, but it's just like, the rake hurts, right? Like rake, and it also, the higher your ROI is, the more that rake cuts your ROI down. Like, let's just say Fader is winning 400% in the main event or something. It's like with 6% rake, if he didn't have rake, those 5 buy-ins he's getting back times 1.06 would be 5.3 buy-ins. So it's like the 6% rake cuts his ROI 30% kind of thing. So these rake can really add up.
Who's that in the background? What's going on there? You hear me, Mike? Who's that?
That's my girlfriend, Kristen.
Oh, is that the girl that sent you that message?
Joey says hi.
Hello. Is that the girl that sent you that message you posted the other day on Twitter?
No, that's not the girl that sent me. That's not the girl that sent me the message. But I've got love for that girl. Yeah, she was flattered that the message was.
I don't understand, Mike. How do you get messages? I never get messages like this. Hi, just want to tell you that you are so damn hot and your poker face is turned the women on. Wish you could play the poker the same often as before. For women would be able to enjoy your beauty and your poker skills much more. Anyways, wish you all the best in your life. Sexy and handsome Mike. You are with your stare forever in my dream.
Kristen, does my poker face turn the women on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's yeah, no. Well, you said get messages like that. You should actually get message like that. That was one time in my poker career, and I just figured, hey, this thing has to be shared.
People in the chat think that's a dude. I think that's a woman. I don't think that's a guy. I mean, listen. Yeah, you've gotten more than just that one. What about the Sex in the Tree one? Was that on a message or was that in person? That was in the message, right?
That was in a message. Yeah, that was in a message. The girl wanted to have sex in a tree.
Do we think this might be the same one?
Do you think this might be the same one?
Same person that talked about the Sex in the Tree?
No, this is not the Sex in the Tree girl.
Okay.
No.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I mean, how does it feel to get a message like this, even though you haven't been in? Does it make you want to come back to play poker more and show off that intense stare to the poker players?
I don't think so. Like, you can see it's been 3 years and the women are still turned on. So, the YouTube clips are still out there. I just want to give the people what they want, and it's very clear that they haven't forgotten, like gone but not forgotten. If we ever find the women around poker are kind of getting a little disappointed, maybe a little bummed out, maybe kind of missing this right here, I'll be back on the felt. You know, I'm not gonna let them down.
Well, I know one of your biggest fans, Kitty Kwa. Did she recruit
Like more than just fans. We're a couple now. We're a couple in Montreal apparently.
Is that true?
Have you seen this couple?
I saw Party Poker has a couples contest. So if you apparently you're allowed to enter as a couple to beat Alex Foxon and Kristen Bicknell. Never an easy task, but so anyone can choose a partner. So you and Kitty are going to be partners for this event.
Yeah, we're gonna be partners. We're gonna be partners for the event. Yeah, so that's yeah, so that should be a fun one.
So anyone can be partners with any. Can I be partners with Phil Hellmuth then, or is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it seems like one of those. It seems like one of those things where they want to both promote this, but they also want, you know, they probably know it's a bad PR move for them to, you know, if they were to reject a couple on the grounds of them not being a couple and find out they actually are a couple, you know, it's not going to look so good for Party Poker. You know, that would be a quite costly PR move if they were to reject two pro poker players who are legitimately a couple. So yeah, I think it's just kind of anything goes.
I think this needs to be something like when you get married for a visa, in that you have someone interrogator sit down and ask you a bunch of questions and show that you're proof of a couple. I don't think you should just be able to allow like, hey, you want to be my partner, and then all of a sudden you guys are smash. I mean, maybe you smash that. I don't really know exactly what the specifications should be or how long the couple thing should last, but I don't know, man. Anyone can enter. It sounds. I mean, I think the idea and the intent of the promotion is a very fun one, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to get some people in there kind of sliming their way through, dating their friend Timmy, and Timmy and Jimmy are all of a sudden, hey, yeah, we're sucking each other off. You know, it's like, okay, you know, is it a couple for the tournament? Like, I don't know. I feel like it was a great idea, and some people are going to ruin the good idea and maybe not have it happen again in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not sure how this will play out. You know, if it's something where you're supposed to actually be a couple, you know, we're not going to participate kind of thing. Like I read that and I assumed, hey, 80% of these people won't actually be couples. But you know, if it's a whole bunch of husbands and wives, and then me and Kitty, like, you know, a bunch of like, you know, old businessmen and their like wife who plays poker for fun or whatnot, and it's like me and Kitty and they're in like sunglasses and a hoodie, like, you know, stare people down, trying to like stall for a pay jumper. You know, I'm not going to take this thing too seriously. So I can definitely be out of this contest if it's not encouraged.
I saw Kitty maybe recruited you to be a GG Poker ambassador. I saw you were one of the few ambassadors. I don't know if you put up a cool video. A couple other guys I saw, they had some very nice videos of themselves, kind of like, hey, I'm the Iceman. Eat your eggs this morning. I like that one. Mike, that was a good one. So what? That was your return to poker. Or what? Why'd you play that? Why'd you play those events on the?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, I mean, I'm not one to beat around the bush. Like I was incentivized to promote their series, as you know, probably nobody's too shocked by that. But you know, I honestly, I don't know too many of the details, but I think what's going on is they were likely concerned about an overlay, and they realized like, hey, they want more eyes on this series, and kind of, you know, reach out to either their pros or people through their pros network, and wanted to find various people to, you know, do a little bit of like promotional work or whatnot. And I just figured like, hey, you know, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. You know, I'm happy to see new poker sites trying to compete and build up, you know, bigger events for people to play. So yeah, I'm not just figured, okay, let's get back to this. And then regarding the video, like I haven't Twitch streamed in I think over 2 years now. I'm gonna be Twitch streaming 2 Sundays from now, and likely this Sunday as well. And then I'll probably put up my video saying, you know, see you guys on the felt at GG Poker. So I think this has been working out quite well for them, where I think they were afraid they weren't going to hit guarantees, and they've kind of smashed guarantees so far. So I think it's been a good PR move by them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the whoever came up with the idea. They're probably sitting there like, Kitty, you know anybody that plays tournament poker? And Kitty's like, oh, I know, you know, she, you know, it's the Kitty voice, whatever. She knows a few players, and then she's like, hey, Mike, Mike Delvecchio, Mike, you want to record a video? I'll give you $100. You want to make a video talking about eating eggs? And they go, okay, sure. Like, why not? That's the poker world. That's the poker world marketing in the poker world for you. They call up your buddy and say, hey, turn your camera around, make a video, give you $200, put a tweet up. That's it. Maybe it was more. I don't know. Did you make more than that?
No, I mean, your description is probably a lot closer to truth than you think it is. So yeah, there's definitely yeah. I mean, I think it's just kind of, they wanted to like reach out to people that were within their network and whatnot, and wanted to just get guys who likely weren't playing the events in the first place. There's kind of it's beneficial for them. Hey, me being in that tournament, that's a player who's playing who wouldn't have played, closer to the guarantee, etc. So I think they were kind of mindful of that. But yeah, it's kind of I do think I do think if they spent a few more hours thinking about it, they likely could have been like, stagger the videos or something, like where it's or just like give a slightly different recommendations to each player, because it looks I mean, I think it looks a little bit rehearsed, I suppose. So yeah, no, I mean, I understand why some people are hating, but I also think at the end of the day, it's like they're building a series. They're giving people other options to play. More people are playing these tournaments, and they're relatively soft for the buy-in level. And like, hey, I'm sure there's some people who hate on this, and they also go and sign up on the site. I think I think it's just a popular thing. The poker community it's quite negative, and derives joy from the negativity, I suppose. So I think it's also something where if what you see in the foreground is mostly negative, that doesn't mean that the repercussions of something weren't mostly positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if people were hating on it. I thought the videos were hilarious out there. Were people hating on it? The people have they didn't like them, or what?
There were a few people, I guess. Like I know like one or two people like called me out or whatnot, and it's just I don't know. I don't really understand. I don't really understand. I do understand. Basically, when I was young and I felt I was a talented player and I felt I was, a reasonably marketable player, I would see, Pokerstars just, handed some shitty poker player from Portugal a new sponsorship deal. And I'm like,
bang.
Fuck that guy, So, and I think that's the kind of the headspace a lot of people are in, where they have some resentment toward the people that are having, marketing budgets allocated to them or whatnot. And I think it's just one of the, I've been there myself. And I think it's just one of those things, each site has their own way where they want to, spend funds to build their brand. And I think a lot of people end up being resentful that those funds are allocated on other people rather than themselves. I think that's, I think some people might try to view it as like a, slightly more noble view than that or whatnot. But I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah, people in chat, Jay Smith, Jay Smith says people hate on everything. It's true. I've noticed a recent trend on a lot of YouTube content that's getting popular. It's like this hate content, basically, where they take a piece of content, whether it's like Game of Thrones or whether it's other people's YouTube channels, and they make videos just hating on it the entire time. I'm like, wait, it's like people love it. It's like, okay, wait, I'm just going to put this down for 25 fucking minutes or 15 minutes. And this is what seems to be, I mean, like H3H3, if anybody watches YouTube, that's essentially what H3H3 does. He just hates on other people's content, whether it's deserved or not deserved or whatever. And now there's like this, maybe I'm just coming across this more. And I've been watching I don't really watch a lot of this content. I just like going into Game of Thrones. I swear to God, I must have found 7 channels that had the exact same format. That was just the only thing they talked about was hateful things about the show, about each episode. And then they would swear at the end. They'd be like, this doesn't make sense. Fuck you. And then they would that would be their entire thing for 20 minutes. And I found 7 channels like this, and people love it. They're like, oh my, you're hilarious. It's just, I guess this is where content's going. I think it's going to be going more and more down this road. And then like on Instagram, you have these people, these like positive people who just put up fucking positive messages every single day. And, so it's like the battle of positivity and negativity in terms of content direction. I find this fascinating, and I feel like it's going more negative than it will be positive.
Yeah, no, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I suppose for myself, I've never really been one to, watch a lot of reality TV. I've never been one to like look at the lives of celebrities. I've never, read like, gossip sites or magazines or followed influencers. Like it's difficult for me to um put myself in the shoes of someone who kind of gets joy in like living vicariously through someone else's life. But it seems to me that's some large percent of people. Like I don't know whether it's 60% or 85%, but it's a lot of people really get a lot of their joy from seeing what someone else is doing. And for me, like I can't really empathize with that. Like I'm happy to hear what's new with you, get a summary of how your life's been the last year or whatnot. But as far as like a daily update of, today I'm at the gym, or, today, I'm doing the BGG, or, what, like I don't, I don't really, I've never really been kind of that much of like an observer. So like, it's difficult for me to comment on whether it makes more sense for like influencers to be positive or negative. Cause like, I don't get it basically.
Oh, from a strategic standpoint, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know if you're like an actual positive person, but it's probably better. I think in certain industries, it's better to be negative because people like they connect with the negativity so well in certain directions. Like, when you talk about but then there's another subsection, a certain part of the world that connects with the concepts of gratitude and stuff like that as well. But it seems like in a lot of the influencer sort of vloggy content that exists out there and those sorts of YouTube channels and these new mainstream people who are becoming their own celebrities in their own world, I think they're probably both pretty powerful. I doubt one is higher than the other, but I do know if you study exactly like what causes people to have an emotional reaction to things, negativity is usually at the top of what fires someone up, whether it's they attracted to your negativity or they disagree with what you're saying and it fires them up to share their opinion like that too. So, I maybe this is like, maybe it's been overly positive for a long time and now there's sort of a correction because a majority of people in the world have a lot of negative thoughts going on.
Yeah, no, I mean that does make a lot of sense where it's like disagreeing, like agreeing with someone doesn't really bring you that much together, or doesn't bring you together that much, whereas kind of having a common enemy brings you a lot closer together with someone, or disagreeing strongly with someone makes them more, memorable in your mind, kind of thing. So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense as far as, getting more engagement, as far as being more memorable, etc. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that does make sense.
Yeah, and I've been listening to a lot of sports podcasts for the past few years, and I stopped listening to them during the NBA playoffs because it's just like it's kind of preposterous, the reactionary comments, and then they like take it like, oh, is Golden State loses a game? Oh, is Golden State fucking done? Are they done? Should we break the team up? It's like, what's going, and then it's like every single piece of content in that sort of media space just breaks this down for fucking 45 minutes straight when the next game Golden State wins. And then it's like, oh, is Golden State back? Are they going to crush? Can anybody beat them? What do they have to, you know what I'm saying? So I've had to stop listening to a lot of sports related debate and sports related talk because I just can't necessarily, I just not enjoying the how reactionary, I guess in crypto right now. So kind of transitioning to crypto. Crypto is having a little bit of a boom with the Bitcoin. And I know that you tweet up a lot of things about cryptocurrency. It seems like you're very interested and maybe involved in that world. So what are your thoughts on the current status of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency out there?
Yeah, it's quite exciting seeing a lot of the interest coming back. It's definitely, I've been having a lot more people message me. I think throughout the sort of last half of last year, first couple months of this year, everyone just kind of stopped paying attention to this stuff and kind of thought, hey, this thing is dead. It's pretty, yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting seeing this recovery. I think I'm, overall, I'm a fairly big believer in Bitcoin. I do think a good amount of this rally isn't really to do with Bitcoin actually gaining that much more traction. It's similar to what I was saying about markets the market price doesn't really necessarily indicate like basically, me saying markets aren't really efficient. Like, I think that whatever the price is, that's not really what, everyone's indifference point to buying and selling. So many people are inactive in trading. And so many people, they don't, Bitcoin's $8,000, but like they wouldn't buy one right now for 7,000. They wouldn't buy one right now for 6,000, etc. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit unclear, especially when so much of the Bitcoin volume is done via margin trading. There's a lot of room for bigger OTC trades than the actual trades in the order book. So people could be propping the price up or pushing it down to push another agenda. There's, and then there's also a lot of the short-term price fluctuations tend to be overcorrections. So like, I guess for me, like when the price was 19,000, it never really felt like it's actually 19,000. And when it was 3,100, it never felt like it's actually 3,100. Like, when we rallied from 3,100 to 8,000, it didn't feel like, oh, everybody's holdings of 2.5x. It felt like, oh, people are 30% more interested in crypto, and they got a little aggressive with shorting it and a little aggressive with buying it. Is kind of where my head is at. So, I think that it's nice to see, hey, it's not sub 1,000 or whatnot, but I also don't really buy into the narrative that crypto's back. I think it's nice to see how quickly a lot of attention came to it, but I don't really see too much reason that, hey, it's going to be 50K in 4 months or something. I hope it is, but I'm definitely I kind of I sort of hope that the adoption of this stuff is more gradual. From my own personal point of view, I want this shit to go to the moon and I want to get rich as fuck or whatnot. But from like an actual, I think myself and a lot of people in crypto, it's sort of like we came for the gains and we stayed for the revolution, I suppose. And I think for that point of view, these extremely volatile price fluctuations leave a sour taste in people's mouth. And I think a lot of people, when they bought the top and back December 2017, and their favorite coins down 97%, that makes them, all that means is, hey, they bought, they bought at the bad time, they bought the hype, and that has nothing to do with whether like censorship resistant money is a good thing or a bad thing. So I think these price fluctuations get a lot of people lost in what Bitcoin's trying to do, and I think that I think that I would like if the nature of it was more gradual and kind of based on adoption rather than based on this like violent speculation. The one example I like giving that this probably sounds pretty bearish on cryptocurrency in general, but I think it's important for people to understand. And I guess a lot of people in the chat have never thought about this. So like, let's say we look at the market cap of Bitcoin. Market cap's $130 billion. Let's just say hypothetically, the market cap of Bitcoin was $130 billion, and it was always going to stay the same. So we have this currency. People are still mining it, and as more gets mined, the price goes down. So if Bitcoin's like $7,100 right now, once every Bitcoin is mined, your Bitcoin will be worth $6,000, and over the next 100 years, your Bitcoin will go from $7,000 down to $6,000. But in the process of doing that, you can trade. You can, instead of having to convert currency, you can just sell Bitcoin. If you're traveling somewhere else, you can use your Bitcoin. You can, if you need to flee your country, you can use Bitcoin. If the US dollar goes bankrupt, you can use Bitcoin. You basically use this currency just over the next 100 years goes down 15%. Would you be using Bitcoin? Well, basically, some people that answer is yes. It gives them, if you're from Venezuela, if you're from somewhere with instability, then you have value. And then everything else, Bitcoin going up, Bitcoin going down, that's just hot potato money being passed from one person to another. We have it's just like if Bitcoin 10x's, that 10x came at the cost of someone else so basically it's like, if from here on out, it's kind of like it's sort of like a zero-sum game where beyond the reason Bitcoin is better or worse than what I described there is just, if the price goes up or if it goes down, but that's just for you as an individual. And it's possible that one day, owning Bitcoin gives other dividends that have tangible value or whatnot. But it's important to kind of look at Bitcoin as what it is, where in its current state you're holding it, hoping to sell it to someone else for more. And I still think that Bitcoin I described that's going to deflate from 7,000 to 6,000 still has its own value and still could be used. But I think maybe less than 1% of crypto users would use that coin I've described and would rather this like hot potato Bitcoin that we have right now. But yeah, and the same could be said about about something like gold as well, where it's like gold this hot potato game has been going on for thousands of years, but it's and obviously you can get value in the sense of wear jewelry before melting it down 50 years later, whatever it happens to be. But the main functionality right now is to have something that can't be censored, can't be stolen. You don't need to pay high fees. It's international, it's borderless. That's the value, and it's going to 5x, it's going to 100x is kind of that's a guess and kind of irrelevant to what Bitcoin is. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm kind of I love
okay, I like it.
I love the ideals of Bitcoin. I believe it's going to go up. I believe that a lot of the people that would have a use for it and will end up using it aren't using it yet. But I think that it's kind of you're either early or you're late, and the nature of it, a lot of people just kind of buy when it's high and sell when it's low, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I don't really follow it too closely. My key indicators I usually use to know how Bitcoin's doing is if Doug makes a video, I know that it's doing pretty well. Doug Polk, shout out Doug Polk, and also
that's a good signal. That's a very good signal.
And also, when my timeline starts getting filled up with, I tweeted this yesterday with fucking these investment experts who they start posting like graphs and they start posting screenshots, and then they'll fucking talk about how they can't wait to buy it at 666. It's shit. At 61, I'm going all in. I'm like, when I start seeing more tweets like that, that's when I know Bitcoin's back. So that's my basic way to do it, sort of thing like that. And then I go Google a price, and you see it drops 1,000 overnight, and the tweets start going less and less. Then it goes back up, and people start tweeting again. So the more people are tweeting about Bitcoin and crypto, that's when the better it is doing. That's sort of my primary involvement in the crypto space right now.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely accurate. It seems like a lot of people kind of forgot about it over the last couple of years. But yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's cool how the poker community is, in my mind, and I could be wrong about this, a relatively early group of adopters of this, where we're used to having to convert currencies. We're used to traveling. We're used to owing people money. We're used to being owed. We're used to like being in a place and needing $4,000 in 2 hours or whatnot, and like your bank's closed or whatever it happens to be. Like the use case within crypto, you swap 5% with a buddy and need to pay him out after he's left town. There's a lot of the benefits within our community. So I think it's a natural thing. I do think it's funny how I think a lot of people, myself, I think I'm wiser now than I was a couple of years ago. I think people can tie too much of their kind of ego or their self-concept into whether they've been correct about a market that they don't really understand. So as far as whether things are going to go up or whether they're going to go down, I think it's quite difficult to predict. And I think that, especially after fees and insider trading and all these things, a very small percent of people, I think, are both making a profit and making a substantial enough profit that it's the best use of their time. I could be wrong about that, but there's Yeah, no, I think it's just like a lot of guys, hey, they guessed it's going up and then they tweeted a graph when it went up, but they're not really creating any value. Maybe they're right 52% of the time. Probably more likely they're probably right 48% of the time. And it's just, yeah, I think people just like saying when they're right is basically the idea behind it.
Well, it's probably like that for I think it's like that for everybody. By the way, Mike, I gotta say, man, the chat's firing me up today. Let me comment on the chat, guys. I love the chat, right? This guy all blitz, right? I just love this fucking comments. He says, "Move on from this topic. It's not either of your expertise." Like, I just find these comments hilarious, Mike. Can you imagine that? Just fucking sitting there listening to two guys talk that you don't fucking know, and you're like, "Just stop talking about this." Listen, we're talking it out. We're talking it out. We're learning a little bit. Maybe we're asking some questions. We're learning. The audience learns how you fucking make your opinion better. I find this entitlement that some people have when they're listening. Like, I'm not listening to other podcasts. I'm like, oh, stop talking. Like, if I don't like it, I just fucking listen to something else. There's 35 zillion podcasts out there. I just find some of these comments so funny sometimes, Mike. I don't know, man. Like, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, and maybe I got the wrong mindset. Maybe this guy can educate me on how I'm supposed to think about my own fucking show and what I want to talk about. But I find this battle of what does the audience want versus what I'm personally interested in very fascinating, because I usually stick to what I'm personally interested in, because I think that makes for a better conversation rather than what the chat wants all the time. So I find these fascinating, some of these comments when the topic isn't a specific poker related strategy question or how you get better, or the current hot topic in poker, like, oh, who's bashing who in the fucking face on Twitter today. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people want to hear about. And, sometimes I indulge them with these topics, but for the most part, I enjoy things like this a lot more because it's a way to get to learn about other things, even though Timex isn't the end boss fucking king of Bitcoin knowledge right now. Sure. But, maybe he's along the way to be in there. Maybe 10 years from now, Timex at the top of the Bitcoin industry, fucking one of the best experts in the entire world. He got there explaining his thought process on a fucking podcast with me right here, right now, over time, a million times, and then eventually gets to that point. And that's the point we're at right now. Okay, so you don't have to be experts in everything to be able to talk about a subject.
Yeah, no, and I respect your take there, where I think, yeah, you're doing this to do things you enjoy, talk about things you're passionate about. Poker being one of them, but you don't need to put all your focus there. And it is one of those things where, when I was saying earlier how poker is not a big kind of part of my like self-concept, like I don't really know who's battling who. Like I know Sean has been arguing about markups. I don't really know like who, like until reading this chat, I don't know who Johnny Vibes is. I don't really know. Like I don't really follow the stuff because it's not like I follow the stuff that's relevant to Pokershares. I'm actually playing a poker tournament next week, so I follow, like maybe I'll go watch like a training video or something before that. But like it really is a part of a past life to me, kind of. It's just something where it was a passion of mine. It was something I worked really hard at. Something I'm quite. I am reflecting on things. I'm quite proud of the things I did, the things I accomplished, the work I put in. But it's like when someone when someone's like, oh wow, like you're that poker player, like I have this I just like forget that even happened, I suppose. So it's very, it's just like I can't really comment on who's battling with who, like who, I'm just, I'm very, I'm not like some poker expert or anything.
Are you sure you're not you're not very knowledgeable about poker? You're not a poker, what else is, sort of what's happening around the game, but you're not an expert on that, but I feel like you're very knowledgeable about the game of poker itself, or how to become great at poker.
Yeah. I would say I was fairly knowledgeable at how to become good in like, a soft era or whatnot. Like as far as like, I think if you asked me 10 years ago, I think Pratt's a good example. Like if Pratt kind of came to me and was sort of like, hey, how do I become like a top 100 poker player? I feel like I knew the steps to get there. And I feel like now I don't even really know what those steps are. So it's like I'm pretty disconnected from even how to study poker, how to improve at poker. I'm very I think there was a time when I was one of the best, but it's very much behind me.
Who would you say that?
PLP.
Oh, PLP. Okay, man. Listen, man, we miss PLP being in our vortex, man. Shout out to PLP. Poker loving Pratouche. Nobody used to love poker more than Pratouche. I don't think he loves it much anymore, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loved poker more than that guy. So we miss that guy. What's PLP been up to, Mike? You keep in touch with him at all?
We talk occasionally. I think he's relatively into the crypto space. At one point, he was writing a book. I'm not sure if he ended up finishing that. Getting pretty into fitness, into nutrition and stuff. So I think he's kind of just had he just like absorbing a ton of content, like listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot. So I think he's just kind of been doing the post poker thing and figuring it out.
I mean, that's what I do. I watch a lot of content that isn't poker as well all the time. I'm just taking in new books, watching new videos. Like last night, I'm watching this guy, David Goggins. I've never really heard of this guy before, but I know he puts up these fitness inspirational or motivational video on Instagram. Like those are the kind of, I'm just learning about this guy. He's talking, I'm liking what he's saying. So he's talking about the value of working out and how working out and the first thing in the morning builds that discipline. And that's something I've been doing a lot of lately. So that's the kind of similar content that I like to absorb the most. I still like to watch poker stuff too, but everything right now is in a fucking live stream that I want to see what's happening in some of these, there's a lot of these high stakes games that go down, but I don't really want to watch for 7 hours, especially when there's so much fucking tanking that goes on and it's so slow. And so right now I feel like the way that poker content's being packaged, the content I specifically want to watch or listen to isn't necessarily existing right now, with the exception of some of the Triton poker stuff when they condense some of the cash games. But then there's a lot of short deck there too. So it's this I find poker content a very interesting space right now, where there's vlogs and then there's very, very, very long live streams or Twitch streams. And there's really not much in between in terms of produced shows for other poker fans out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I also think it's a little bit weird where the numbers have gotten so large in the big stuff that it's kind of gotten surreal. Like the old dream of, be an accountant, turn $39 into $2.5 million, by beating all these guys, like that was the original dream. And now you just see like, a bunch of dudes playing for, 47 million Hong Kong in Montenegro, like every weekend or whatnot. And it's just like, and the numbers have just gotten so ridiculous that it doesn't, like, I think most people, like the original kind of poker dream is like, how does something happen to me that could change my life or whatnot? And now it's kind of, all these guys, Bryn Kenny won some tournament to take his career earnings from 78 million to 82 million. It's like, who cares? Like, I get it, it's like it's almost like the numbers have gotten too big to have any degree of kind of like attachment for the fans or something. So it's a little, I think that's something that has played a role as well, where like, most people kind of have like sort of a number in their head of like what could help them achieve their financial goals, what could change their life, and seeing that happen to people who it hasn't already happened for is a lot more exciting than seeing someone who's already on top, throw 10% more on the pile kind of thing. So it's, yeah, or throw 1% more on their investors pile or something. Right. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this has to go down to how these companies promote the events themselves, because you take a look at the NFL or the NBA or UFC, they treat every event every week as a special event. Tune in. Here's what you can watch. Here are the narratives to pay attention to. Here's the highlights from last time. Here's how they're going to play a part in this sort of thing like that. And if you watch something like Fortnite does a pretty good job of that too, in terms of establishing narratives, explaining what the narratives are, and you have these things to follow, and there's stories and there's personalities behind it and that type of thing like that. Whereas with the whole Triton poker series going on, like it's like every day here's a 300 billion yen tournament. I don't even know what the fucking currency is. Like there's like you said, every week there's Hong Kong dollars, there's this. It doesn't really make much sense. I don't even understand really what's happening there. And when you treat it as just another run-of-the-mill event, and well, then it becomes a run-of-the-mill event where no one's going to give a fuck about. So you, as the person who's creating content or an event, the people are going to perceive it the way that you want it to be. So if you are marketing it and you're promoting it as something special, then audience will see it as special. If you promote it as well as another event, we got 20 of them, then people are going to be like, oh, why the fuck do I care? These guys don't care. It's just another one of the 20 events or thing like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that with the earnings as well too. If no one else really cares, why was someone else going to care about it for the most part? So I think that's where there's a big disconnect between the way these things are promoted and marketed from the company and media side in poker to where their fans are. And I think that's a big reason why we've seen a lot of these things lose their luster a little bit, is because they're being so treated as just this run of the mill. And even though they might be, it comes down to the marketing behind it, because these things happen. Football's been going on for 100 years, whatever. It's still the same fucking game every week. Still the same players every week, still the same plays most of the time every week. But the way that it's promoted and generate stories and discussion is generated is, I don't know, 200 million times more effective and better than the poker world is.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of, I guess, okay, so I what I sort of think is the nature of what makes a game interesting in the sake of being like a game someone respects versus a game that's good at gambling are kind of like the polar opposites. So it's like when people look at good basketball players, good chess players, things like that, it's sort of they've played this game, they've watched this game, and they can see the disparity between them and the best, and they respect that, like, they've taken, they've tried so many times to dunk and they don't look like LeBron James or whatnot. It's like they watch because of this admiration. Whereas like what makes poker a good gambling game is that everybody can delude themselves into thinking the difference between them and the best is very small and them and the worst is very large. And I think people's interest in poker comes not so much from their admiration of the best as it does for their belief that they can be good or approach the best, kind of. So I think that's it's almost like what has made poker so popular is sort of what makes it not, like, what's made it to, like, A- popularity is exactly what prevents it from A+ popularity. Like, people aren't going to be naming, their kid Timex the way that they name it after their kid after their favorite quarterback or something. It's just like there's not that true, like, people look at their football teams, their basketball teams, their soccer teams, it's like a religion to them. And I've met very few people, like, maybe I could count them on one hand, who treat poker that way. And it's sort of, I think that's, I think it's just kind of the nature of why it's popular makes it difficult to get to be at the level of American football or something.
Yeah, I think that if you take, mention what's the difference between it going from A, how did it get to A in the first place, was because ESPN and because World Poker Tour on television, and ESPN marketed it a certain type of way that made it interesting, and there was easier to access to be able to play for online poker, because online poker was more of a thing back then too, and it was also more of a fresh new thing as well. So it's hard to really gauge exactly what was the reason for the success that it had, but obviously ESPN was a very, very large factor in that success in terms of they knew how to tell a proper story and how to build up these characters. And we also had the repetition of seeing the same characters very often throughout the year, whereas right now, the way ESPN in the main event comes out, it's like one time a week or 2 times a week, and then you never see it again. And then the characters that you see are never the same each year. So unless you have a moment like Will Kasuf, then it's very hard for that to even matter in terms of people caring, because you see them one time where they don't care. But when you see the same people over and over and over again, then you start to actually care about them, and you can have a vested interest in sort of what they're doing, or become a fan of the sport, or become a fan of the game, or become a fan of whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all what you've said there. One thing I've got to say is I've got to give a few shout outs in the chat. I'd like to give a shout out to Timex Vaughn, Timex Tice, Timex Chavez, and of course Timex. Pardon me? I'm giving my shout outs to Timex Vaughn, Timex Tice, Timex Chavez, and of course Son Timex Berg, all of the people who are naming their kids after me. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much.
Do you think they're actually?
I feel so honored.
Their kid after you. Okay.
Yeah, there's 3.5 people are naming their kid after me. That's fantastic.
If somebody names your kid after you, I'll have them on the podcast.
All right. Yeah. yeah, no, if someone, I'll think of some favor if someone names their kid Timex. I don't know what it can't be Mike, it can't be McDonald. Someone names their kid Timex. I'll do something where they'll be pleased. I don't know what that's gonna be, but I'll think of something.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. Mike, let's talk about Pokershares and talk about what exactly the qualities that you learned from poker apply to business. Because I think a lot of people out there who have had success at poker try to think about what can I do outside of poker with these skills and abilities that I've learned. And someone who has experience successfully transitioning away from poker to something else, what do you think a lot of those qualities are that someone could think about that would also apply to the business world?
I mean, I think the biggest one is just objectivity, where just in poker, you learn to trust the facts rather than trust your opinions. And I think that most people never get taught that. And the way in which you get taught it in poker is especially good for learning, because every time you aren't objective, you're financially penalized for it. And it's just, most people never experience that in their life. They can go through their whole life making, countless irrational decisions, and they never really suffer the consequences. And in poker, all the guys that still have money have been able to kind of swallow their own pride and, experience kind of the humility of, hey, I might be wrong here, this might be incorrect, and just the ability to kind of aggregate information and constantly reassess your opinions. I think that's something that unless you're self-employed or unless you're a poker player, a lot of times you just don't get to experience that, and how so many of your actions affect your own bottom line. So I think that helps a lot. I think in general, I think the way in which you manage risk in poker, I think, is quite useful for business, and I mean that almost more in the risk-seeking way than the risk-averse way. I think most people spend their whole lives trying to. I read something recently on Twitter that I thought was kind of reasonable, where it's basically saying, your paycheck is your compensation for trading in your dreams for someone else's dreams. And I think that's really cruel, I suppose, but I think it's somewhat reasonable in that most people they're working to accomplish someone else's goals, and that's what most people have been taught to do. You go the safe route and you build something that someone else wants built, basically. And it's, in poker, you're building what you want built, and when you're self-employed, you're building what you want built, and you deal with the ups, you deal with the downs. And I think it's I think a lot of, in poker, a lot of poker players become so lazy. They don't respond to emails, they miss appointments, they can barely even book a flight. You have so little guidance, so few rules, that I think most of us, myself included, were far too lazy when they start doing that. But let's just say, if any poker player who's not sure what to do wants to hire someone that they're going to be working with tomorrow, where it doesn't matter, building a website, running a sandwich shop, whatever it is, it's like the moment that this starts and this person is like dependent on your schedule, dependent on your punctuality, needs you to you need to answer their calls, deal with their emails, blah 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 blah. You're gonna become accountable quickly. I think a lot of poker players, they could think, oh, I want to become more of a grown-up, I want to become more responsible, and then 5 years later they're doing the same shit. I think 1 month of you being responsible for other people and other people's kind of livelihood, depending on your work ethic and such, etc. And you just you grow up quick, and you kind of you can do a lot of the the skills that most poker players lack, that most normal people have, I suppose. So I think for a lot of people, I guess my answer, if they want to transition out of poker and into something else, is just move faster rather than slower. I think that a lot of people, they've taken 3 years of trying to figure things out, or 8 years since Black Friday trying to figure things out, and it's just just kind of start doing something. And if 3 months in you realize that's not for you, hey, you've learned those skills from those 3 months, and go try something else. I just think action is a lot better than inaction.
Yeah, I can see it being very easy to let inaction be a busy part of your life, especially once you reach a certain point of success in poker, and that motivation to study isn't quite what it used to be, and that motivation to keep learning and the motivation to even play as consistently as you used to play, and maybe you're not even required to play that consistent anymore because you play higher stakes where you actually make more money playing less in softer games. So it's this I could see, and from knowing a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people about this too, which is why I ask your opinion about it too. It's just that people always say, how do I start? What do I do? And I think a lot of the habits that people built up, myself included, have become a little poor. As you mentioned, not responding to emails, not responding to things. That's certainly something I struggle with, but I struggle with it at this point because I get so many messages from people that I'm like, fuck, it's just each day you just get all these things sort of sent at you. But I mean, I think there's a lot of the biggest thing that I never really learned was organization planning from poker. And then when I start doing other things in business, that's of course what I struggle at, planning an organization, because well, I never fucking took the time to learn it from playing poker. I'd say I'll wake up at 3 p.m. today. I'll wake up at 7 tomorrow, wake up at 8 this day. And I'm not going to plan my day. I'm just going to wake up and play poker and then figure out the rest later. And well, now it's later. And now I'm trying to figure, okay, well, I never figured this part out of things. So I imagine other people out there find these same challenges too, because the habits they built up to become successful at poker sort of work against you in a lot of different ways when you might go to business and do other things.
No, I definitely like, yeah, I agree with all that. And I tend to, I mean, this isn't exactly right, but I tend to kind of take on the mentality of, I take on a mentality that I feel like most people have quite similar capacities to do things, but they kind of allocate things in different fashions. So when you look at the guys that have gotten to be the top 0.001% in poker, almost every single one of them have done so while kind of sacrificing a lot else. They're probably on average, not the best friends, not the best boyfriends, not the best parents, not the best sons. It's just that, or daughters. It's not like they're not necessarily that well rounded. They're accomplishing a lot. You only have so many hours to do things, and it's difficult to the person who gets to be the best at something is likely the one who sacrificed a lot in other regards. And I think that I think with poker, a lot of top poker players have gotten there by being so obsessive about one thing. And then I think that the majority of businesses require you to be more well-rounded. I think there's some ways in which you could become very, if you were to learn some skill that, say, any online business needs, it doesn't really matter what it is, but you find something where they need the best graphic designer they can get, or whatever it happens to be. If you were to really obsess over that one skill, there's going to be a market over that guy who's so obsessive and so perfect at this act or whatnot that you can take that same type of narrow focus from poker and apply it to something else. But I think that the majority, of careers or businesses someone could get involved in need a lot more kind of like breadth of knowledge than depth of knowledge, I suppose. In poker, it's just like all depth of knowledge.
Yeah, it's been challenging for me to try to learn that and get better at that, because that's how I've always been, is just, okay, super hyper focused on one thing. And then when you start doing these other things, and if you want to turn content to more a business or anything related to that nature, you have different platforms that you focus on. There's so much more you need to necessarily know that you can't just like hammer home this one specific kind of thing like that. And yeah, that idea of being well balanced is something that I'm trying to get better at now, because it's like you could be doing this one day, you could be doing that one day. There's 35 things you could be doing to improve your business. Whereas at poker, oftentimes it's like you can play or you can study. Like it's not, there isn't much to it. Like that's it. You play or you study, that's it. And then here, that's how you get better. You get better at studying, you get better at playing, putting in the time, bettering your discipline, bettering your mindset. And a lot of this other stuff in terms of, it's not necessarily as black or white, because in poker, the goal for most people is to get better and to win money. And then in business, that's not always the case, because sometimes you want to provide for other people to be able to support themselves. Sometimes you want to provide a product for people to love. Sometimes you want to treat the customers right. Sometimes you don't give a fuck. You care about the money. And there's all these different things that you can care about going into it. And it's not just, okay, not as straightforward necessarily.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's, you need to, you need to approach things, more, in a more well-rounded fashion, I suppose.
We got a couple donations throughout here, but I just saw one from Dennis. Dennis Blyden. We saw him on the $1 Million Cash Game, mixing it up there. He actually sent me a question. He donated $49. Thank you, Dennis. I saw some more people donate. I don't know how to go back and actually find out who those people were. So if you did, can you please chat? But Dennis sent me a question before we got started. Dennis said, "Ask Timex about his fate of me when I won the LAPC because we disagreed by 5% markup."
Yeah, no, that was pretty sick. So yeah, Dennis, I gamble with Dennis occasionally, and he was, I forget if it was, I think it might have been a friend of his was looking to buy action of him in the LAPC, and I think he was looking to buy a pretty large amount, like 100% or 50%, some large amount, and it came down to discussing the rate. Was, off by 5%, maybe wanted 1.35 markup, he wanted 1.3, or 1.6, he wanted 1.55. I don't remember the exact prices, but there was a disagreement, and he went on and shipped the tournament, and yeah, it would have been quite a costly endeavor.
How much would you have to pay him then if he would have won, or if you would actually book that with you?
I would guess Dennis would know better than me. It was probably something like 500K or $1 million. Definitely wouldn't have been cheap.
So over 5%, if he wins, you would have had to give him an extra. I think it's $1 million. I think it was it was $1 million exactly. So if you booked 100%, that means how does that work? You send him $1 million in Bitcoin, or like what is?
Yeah, so I mean, basically his. So I think what would happen is, like, his friend's account would just be credited with whatever the Euro account equivalent of that was, and then cash out via Bitcoin or whichever payment method was wanted. So yeah, that would have been a pricey one.
What's the most you've potentially lost?
I should know these numbers better. Like this might really speak to how, like, desensitized I am as a gambler, but I don't really know off the top of my head. I think it would be more than that. I think it would be, but I don't actually know the exact dollar amount. I should, I don't know. I just like, as they say in rounders, everyone can remember their biggest losses or whatnot. I think, I'm not gonna lie. I would guess most people here have never shorted a poker player before, but this idea of risking X to win 0.01X, it's a lot more stressful than just the gambling associated with high stakes poker, high stakes sports betting or whatnot. It's definitely, I've had a lot of people who they short someone a few times, and then finally that person does well in a tournament, and it keeps them up at night. It's so, it feels like getting punched in the gut kind of thing. So it's not a natural or a nice feeling, I suppose, that I think over the years I've largely desensitized myself to trying to think as little about the outcome of various bets as possible, and just kind of focus on the long game. Don't get lost in the noise. So I almost intentionally try to ignore these things.
So
I can't. I don't actually know.
So probably more than $1 million, but you don't know. You don't pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. I think no. It would definitely be more than $1 million. But I'm not. I'm not sure. I would say I'm quite certain less than 2.5. But I don't I don't know. I don't know where in that range it falls, I suppose.
How many question earlier came in about how many unique bettors do you have on the site? Are you familiar with that? How many you have in terms of people that are betting?
Yeah, I think it's low 5 figures right now. So I don't know the exact amount. But yeah, it would be 15,000, something like that.
Do we think that's a lot, or do we think could be more?
I mean, it definitely could be more. You know, if you look at the number of accounts on Pokerstars or something, it'll be orders of magnitude more than that. You know, definitely our business, it largely follows kind of like a, you know, a power law type distribution where, you know, one excellent customer can be worth, you know, a thousand average customers or whatnot. So it's definitely, you know, I think our main focus is on, you know, acquiring and retaining the best customers that we can, and then like, we want to make the experience good for everyone, but definitely the median customer doesn't help our bottom line that much. Kind of, you know, it's not like you know, if you take someone who's like, let's say you take someone who's a $10 blackjack player. You know, let's just say you're a $10 blackjack player. You know, you can lose whatever that comes out to. You know, 20 cents a hand for most people. Play 75 hands an hour. Okay, you can make $15 an hour off that $10 blackjack player. You know, off the $10 Pokershares player. Okay, you buy five shares in people that, you know, bet $50, lose 6%, lose $3. Okay, you lose $3 over the course of a week as the tournament plays out. Okay, we made $3 off of this player, when, you know, if they were a blackjack player or something, you'd be making $15 an hour kind of thing. So it's definitely something where when it's a relatively slow form of gambling, you know, most of what we're doing and most of our customers, it's like we're providing an experience, we're giving a platform for them to use the site, but the actual if tomorrow we got, you know, 50,000 more, you know, $1 bettors or something, it's not as if the bottom line will change that drastically. So it's very much, you know, we're very much like a you know, our few dozen or our 100 best customers are the bulk of the business.
So I guess the goal you mentioned is to retain these people, and whether you could do that through, I mean, like DraftKings or FanDuel, they're VIP customers. They'll give them trips to sporting events and stuff like that, or the Playboy Mansion. They'll have trips like that too. Actually, I think that was a contest. So I guess do you study what casinos do or what these other books do to retain these customers, and then try to do the same thing with yours?
Not really. I mean, and also we're just on so much more of a small scale where, you know, it's not like a casino which has, you know, however many thousands of employees, and you dedicate some host to managing their actions or whatnot. It's like, you know, with us, we're a small enough team. It's just like, okay, you know, the like, you know, loyal and high stakes bettors, just like, you know, they just text me or something. You know, it's just like, so it's definitely, it's a much more personal, you know, it's not like I have an issue on Pokerstars and then I go and, you know, text like whoever their CEO is right now or anything. You know, there's nothing. I think it's much different. You know, the way a small business can run is so different from how a big business can run. And I think that, you know, I think what's been interesting with Pokershares is kind of proving it as kind of a test of sort of concept. I think right now we're, you know, I think it's kind of been proven that this has has gotten traction, has grown a lot within the community, and also it's definitely proven that people like what they're doing. I think right now, you know, we've been in talks, not overly serious talks about, you know, a couple parties that are somewhat interested in acquiring, and it's something where, you know, I think definitely someone more established than us could likely take this further than we can. So I think that's kind of, you know, that's something where it's, yeah, I think a lot of people have seen how it's grown right now and kind of where it has gone, and seeing where they think it could go by, you know, people with a larger and more expansive network than us could likely, you know, take this concept further, I guess.
Mm. So you might sell the company and then work for somebody else.
I mean, again, it's very early, no idea where things are going there. But I would say for myself, like I was I was largely I like the idea of this, and I like the idea of this gambling being added to poker. It just makes so much sense. But there was no part of me that was thinking, okay, like I want to spend three decades of my life building a gambling enterprise or whatnot. I thought that I'm best poised and most knowledgeable to begin building this thing, and I think that once it's built, once it works, there's definitely room to hand it off to someone who can grow it into what it can or needs to become in a better fashion than I'm able to.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Got a couple more donations in the chat. Anthony C and Landon both donated $1. Landon said that was to say thank you for him naming his child Timex. Thank you for the naming idea.
Yeah, no problem. I'm the one who should be giving. I'm the one who should be giving him $1. I'm so flattered. We've got all these little Timexes in the chat, and just it's great. It's great.
I saw something you just posted on Twitter about his story. I want you to expand on the story. You said, I'm sure I'll think of better, but I remember my friend White Lime thought it was funny seeing White Lime with a different, not an L, but in capital I, on the nosebleeds in the Phil Tilt lobby. It turns out a Russian guy was cross-booking other Russians that he could beat White Lime and just chimp dumping to himself. Now, this seems ridiculous. What is this? What is this in reference to?
Yeah, so I mean, basically what it was is there was, a high stakes poker player, I guess, on whatever the Russian community, Russian forums or whatnot, was wanting to play bigger than the games on the site. People thought that he wasn't better than various regs, blah, 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 blah. And he took a few of the high stakes PLO regs. This is probably 2013 era or something like that, maybe 2014. And basically took a few of the high stakes regs, made fake accounts by replacing small L's with capital I's or capital I's with small L's. And then he would just play against these accounts, play kind of normalish, and then, maybe cross-book 200% on the side, pass 4 buy-ins to himself. Okay, the Russian community owes him 8 buy-ins, playing 50, 100. Now he just won 80 grand off of people who thought he couldn't beat White Lime.
How did they not see this or notice this straight away? They didn't.
I mean, it looks like you use the same avatar. You get someone who's from the same. You make the account from the same country as him. It just looks identical, and it's not as if these guys have any reason to suspect that this isn't White Lime. And it's just, that you play White Lime a few days, maybe even you play some sessions against the real White Lime, maybe you win some, lose some, just play your normal game, and then you play the fake White Lime every now and then and just have them dump to you. How would you catch this?
So how did the guy get found out? What happened?
I don't remember how he got found out.
Is this a true story? Is this allegedly?
This is a true story.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think, it's pretty, I don't know the total number of dollars that changed hands or anything like that.
Did he pay back the money or what?
Pardon me?
Did he have to pay back the money to somebody else?
I don't know what the resolution was. Maybe some guys in the chat know more about this. Wow. I think it might have been on 2+2 a bit. I think it might have been bigger, maybe on like the Gypsy Poker forums or something like that. But yeah, I can't remember.
Well, I'll have to put this out there on Twitter and kind of see what people think, get more information on this, because that sounds, I mean, kind of genius in a way. Fucked up, obviously, but wow. I mean, you'd think that. Emil's a friend of mine, and like we were in a group chat when this account first popped up, and it was just like, thinks it's a little flattering, thinks it's weird. You're going and waiting for a heads up PLO lobby, and there's already a White Lime waiting, got a lobby himself or whatnot. It was a little confusing when this was going on, and then maybe a few months later found out about this scam and that the fake White Lime was involved about it. Interesting.
Yeah, it was very definitely a pretty crazy scam for sure.
Let's get some shout outs, Ann. Who we got in the chat out here right now? We got Michael Burke in the chat. I think I retweeted something from you, Michael, last night, even though you busted. My bad, buddy. David Backstrom in the chat. What's up, Dave? What's happening, man? Let's get the real story. How much ass did Timex get just from having that Lambo? It's more of a 2017 Poker Live podcast question, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. Vidrin in the chat, always doing good graphic design work for many of the people in the poker world. What's up, Vidrin? What's going on, buddy? Matt Vaughn, Matt in the chat. What's up, Matt? Like a lot of comments I'm seeing so far. Shout out to you, my bro. Ben Lins, what's that, Ben? What's happening? Adam and Eve, Andrew Neilding, Tejas Patel. Bruh, what's happening, bro? Zemansky Binks, what's up, Zemansky Binks? Noob Neil PLP. 310 Media, what's up, guys? What's going on? How are y'all doing today? Thank you for tuning in to another podcast. If you guys are new here for some reason, if you haven't subscribed and you want to see more Poker Live podcast or content, hit the subscribe button. If you hate me, don't hit the subscribe button. You guys shout out. You already gave a few shouts, but do you want to give a specialized shout out to someone out there who might be watching?
I haven't seen that many names of guys I'm close with in the chat. Like I saw Dennis, saw Vedran. Let me see if let's see if there's anyone else who I know well popping in right here. Yeah, no, I think most of the guys I know well, I guess, are probably either not watching or just not really chatting too much. But appreciate everyone tuning in.
All Blitz, I've been a long fan of this channel, and I lost some respect today. I apologize for giving my opinion in chat. Not the way to treat viewers. Don't agree with everything you do 100%. What's the GTO strat here? Should I respond to this guy real quick again? He's the guy earlier that said we should move on from the topic of cryptocurrency. All right, I'll do it. I'm going to do it one time, Mike. And I don't do this often. I'm going to do it one time, okay? All Blitz, I understand where you're coming from. Long-time fan of the channel. I understand where you're coming from. Lost some respect. I understand where you're coming from. So listen, buddy, okay? You apologize for getting your opinion in chat. All right, so here's what happened. Let me break it down. So you gave me your opinion. I gave you my opinion back. What are you fucking crying about? Okay? You gave me your opinion. I disagree with your opinion. I don't even necessarily disagree with the opinion. I was just giving where I'm coming from on the opinion. I'm having a personalized relationship with you as a longtime fan of the channel. And I don't know, you said not the way to treat the viewers. I didn't think I said anything too out of line. I was more explaining exactly why I disagree with the opinion that you have. And now you're upset about that. But I'd like to once again point out your comment, call attention to it, and then explain a little bit further where I'm coming from with it. So I had nothing personal against you, All Blitz. It was more of a wanted to comment on exactly the what you said, because you're not the only person who's ever said something like that. And I very rarely will point these comments out, my friend. 99% of the time, I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'll ignore it, whatever, and move on. You keep the respect that you have for the channel. But occasionally, 1% of the time, I might have that energy going that day. And today I got that energy going and I called out the comments. So if you did lose respect for this channel, that's okay. I understand if that's what it takes for you to lose respect to the channel, me saying I disagree with you, then it is what it is. I never had your respect in the first place. The mutual respect clearly is not there. It's best for you both to move on. You move on to wherever the next channel is. I move on to continue doing the podcast. It is what it is. All right, buddy. So we have a serious heart-to-heart. I appreciate the repetitiveness of you pointing this out and you saying this more than one time in the chat. I got it. It is what it is. We're here. We could fuck over it, or we have an issue about it. All right. You want to talk further about it? You let me know. Bring that energy. I'm in. I'm ready. I'd like to break it down. But when you give your opinion and someone fucking disagrees with you, you don't go crying about it. Okay. That's it. It is what it is. All right. I mean, we got to like it once in a while. Okay.
Honestly, Joey,
I appreciate his feedback.
No, and honestly, Joey, I think you've done a great thing with poker. I think the amount of years you've kept this going for, so many guys, they start a podcast, do it for 6 months or whatnot. The amount of hours and years you've sunk into building this thing. Like, I think you've earned your opportunity to talk about the things that you want to talk about. You've gotten new guys in poker. You've brought guys back to poker. You've kept people retained in poker. You've done great things here, and you deserve to get to rant when someone doesn't like hearing what you're doing. I'm totally on board. Yeah, I agree with Robert with his $10 donation. Saying you can take a breath, Joey. I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for what you're doing.
So what you're saying, you think I should have quit a long time ago is what you're trying to say?
No, not at all.
I think maybe you're right. Maybe I need to get the fuck out. Maybe I see where you're coming from with this Timex. I indirectly see your point here.
Not at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. That's these videos help keep me a little closer to poker.
That's true. What the short clips I post, those sorts of things, or what?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm surprised you even found that Jimmy Gold clip, like, because there used to be a YouTube video of that with like 1 million views or something, and it got taken down. So and then the new version of that doesn't have my live players suck, comment in it. Like, I don't know if someone's like trademarked that or some shit, but it was just, it was just, it was difficult for me to find the live players suck comment. So I'm glad to get to see that.
Yeah, I had to go searching for it. I'm a professional investigator, so finding these clips is a rather easy process for me to do. Plus, it was on a big channel. Shout out to One Trips One. I don't know how the fuck you guys do it, but you guys, I like your stuff. Thank you. Please stop leaving that big ass fucking watermark of One Trips One on your fucking videos, please, for love of God. Sam Lee, huge respect. Joey, new fan, a new subscriber. This is what I'm talking about. Mutually respectful relationship we have. Okay, listen, man. And I just got one of the greatest messages I've ever gotten from Dennis on Twitter. Something related to something that I've been trying to get, and by trying to get, I mean I put 1% effort into getting, but it would be a very glorious thing for my life. So that's about it, man. Let's get some more questions from the chat, guys. What questions you got for Mike? What do you want to know? Someone said, "What's the biggest sports bet you ever had?" What, Mike? I know. I mean, I think it's big because I remember a certain fight you wanted to put a lot of action on this fight, but
yeah. So I guess are we going by most I stand to win or most I stand to lose?
How about both? Most you stand to win or lose?
I think most I stand to win, probably in the 400 to 600K range. I was betting against a friend of mine who really likes betting like sure things in football. Betting that the Patriots are going to win at home or whatnot. So I had a bunch of bets where he was giving me like 10-1 odds or whatnot. I think I hit a few of the 4 or 5-1 odds. Like all in all, it was kind of like break even or whatnot. But a few of them it was like 40 to win 500 or something. And then the biggest bet that felt like I could have reasonably lost, was the Mayweather fight.
Mm-hmm.
If Mayweather lost to McGregor, I think I would have lost something like 800. But the biggest sports bet, if you're going purely by the amount I stand to lose, it's actually pretty sick now that he actually won one. In 2018, in one of the majors, I had a bet where if Tiger Woods won, I was losing like 2 million. And so basically, at the time it felt like, hey, Tiger Woods, isn't going to win a major, and then a year later he did. So I'm glad he didn't win the one when we were betting, but I had a bit. My biggest bet would be fading Tiger Woods. It might have even been the Masters. It was one of the majors in 2018.
So you would have lost $2 million.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been.
What kind of bankroll are we working with, Mike? What is going on here? $2 million. Mike, bankroll doing well.
I don't know. I think I've just become quite desensitized to high stakes gambling, I guess. And when I like the price, I don't mind. I don't know, firing on it, I guess.
What are you doing outside of this, Mike? What are your hobbies outside of work life right now?
It's a good. I'm glad you asked that. So last year it was probably the busiest year of my life, and I had a few situations where I would be like on a date or catching up with someone. They'd be like, "Oh, so what are your hobbies?" And I'd be thinking to myself like, I don't have any. It's a little bit. It was a little bit kind of, I think I was working a bit too much, and I wasn't. I don't think I'm someone who needs a lot of life balance, but I think I had too little life balance even for myself. And definitely over. I was relatively unhappy for a stage there. I think I was even experiencing a little depression at one point, and just kind of thought a lot about sort of life corrections I would like to make. Things that have made me very happy at various times, things that I'm doing that are making myself unhappy, etc. And throughout that, I was thinking two of the things that I enjoyed the most were, as a kid, playing chess, and also relating to that, the early stages of my poker career when I was quickly rising through the ranks, and then also getting into rock climbing. So basically, I hadn't played chess in 15 years, had done very little rock climbing for the last kind of 2-3 years. And basically, yeah, maybe 5-6 months ago, started getting back into both pretty religiously. Also doing a lot more snowboarding. So, but between those three things, that would be what's been occupying kind of a lot of my free time. And it's definitely I think I really like the process of going from bad at something to good to great at it. The process of going from like great to elite. I don't think I enjoy as much as some poker players do or did, kind of thing. So I think it's something where trying to become a good climber, trying to become a good chess player, things like that. I enjoy that process quite a bit. And then the real finicky things of being like, okay, how do I go from the 20th best poker player to the 5th best poker player or something? That I'm less fond of, and maybe less cut out for than some of the other more elite poker players are.
So when you mentioned going through potentially a depression type of feeling, do you feel like this was traced back to you not doing things that you've always enjoyed or you've had a good time doing, and maybe too focused on work without enough balance of fitting in those other things?
Yeah, I think that would largely be it. I think that I think not not enough time spent doing things that are just fun, too much time spent on work, too much time doing things that are stressful. I had, yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing that definitely played a role. Like I was definitely the last kind of year and a half. I think I was drinking too much. When people were talking about what their goals are for 2019, like I quit drinking about half a year ago or so. And I think that just more time outside, just more time doing more time just doing positive things. To just think about, I mean, it's relatively simple, but kind of write down the things you think are contributing to making yourself happy, write down the things you think are contributing to making yourself unhappy, do more of the first list, do less of the second list, basically. And I think it sounds so simple, but in practice, I think that a lot of people keep on repeating, they have some negative behaviors in their life and they know these behaviors are negative, but yet they continue doing them. And I think just really, I think journaling has been helpful. And I think just, a lot more just emphasis on, on just like the things that you enjoy, I suppose.
Yeah, I actually did this last night when I was writing down, because I noticed when I go on these trips with Running Up Reno and with the PCA, when I go down there, I'm like so excited. I'm so like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I'm trying to reverse engineer exactly what I'm enjoying about a lot of those things. And I feel like once I'm at home for so long, like these depressionist type of feelings can come into play. And it makes sense because when I write down what exactly I enjoy and how my habits change when I'm on the road compared to what they are at home, very different things. And just staying in this environment too long is something I think that's very negative for me, and really not getting ready. Like I just, not washing my face a lot of days. I'm not treating the day with the respect that maybe I treat it with when I'm on the road and I know I'm going to see a lot of people on a daily basis. And I've been really trying to, the idea of writing down, well, what are the things that are causing you to be unhappy? It's actually something I didn't do, but I'm going to do today, because I was just thinking about this more last night. Like what's an optimal day look like for me? And how different is that from how I'm spending my time now? And I'm sure a lot of people out there could benefit of doing that same thing. When you write down what would be a GTO day for me to do? If I did this today, this will make it a happy day or a successful day, whatever that is, whether it's eating, a workout, a conversation with your friends, making love to your girl or your guy, whatever, certain work on certain game or study or anything like that. Maybe it's go for a walk. Maybe it's have the 3 meals, brush your teeth, take a shower, clean your place up. It could be different for all these people out there. And then you take a look at what you're actually doing, which is what I do. That's what I try to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm missing out on a lot of these key things, So it's sort of like, okay, figure out, like you mentioned, figure out what you don't like and then try to cut that shit out. And I think that's the step I'm on right now for myself.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's helpful is to if there are negative things in your life, like things that are causing you a lot of stress, things that people who have wronged you, people bringing negativity to your life, things like that. I think it's reasonable to look through your past life and look at times when you felt similarly and realize, oh wow, like this friend who stole money from me, I feel so wronged. It feels like they betrayed my trust. You're like, well, 6 years ago, this other friend did the same thing, and I never think about that anymore. It's like whatever you're caught up with in the now, you can realize, hey, this is going to pass, and this thing that brought me negative emotions in the past, isn't anymore. And relating past negative experiences and how you overcame them to current negative experiences, and realizing that whatever is bogging you down right now, whatever is removing kind of energy from your life, you can beat it, you can get over it, and it's just, I think there's just a lot of I think basically recording your thoughts and relating them to your past thoughts, I think is helpful.
Comment from Eugene Green. It's an interesting comment because I've thought about this a lot. He said, go spend some time in a hospital, jail, or Skid Row, then you'll feel guilty for feeling sorry for yourself. So I think that's an interesting concept to think about, because you hear people say, well, and that's the idea of Gary Vee. A lot of people have to talk about gratitude a lot and being grateful for your situation, for being alive, for whatever your life is like, being grateful that you were here on earth. And kind of, I think about that, and I certainly don't think I show enough gratitude, but the idea of going to put yourself around people who are in these, these situations that we might not find very positive, and then say, well, when I compare myself to that person, well, I'm doing okay. And I think if that's what, I don't necessarily think that would be a good thing for a lot of people, especially for myself, because then if you start comparing yourself to people that you're doing better than you start, why wouldn't you compare yourself to people that you perceive to be doing better than you? So if you end up having to feed off of this comparison to feel better about yourself, I would imagine it's going to work the other way for a lot of people when they start looking at people they perceive to be above them too. Yeah. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best trick.
Yeah. So I would say for myself, and I'm a big perfectionist, and this is definitely not a healthy mentality, but it's a mentality that's difficult for me to control. If I'm feeling depressed, and then I go look at my life and see, like, I've been so blessed in life. There's no need to like hide that. Like, just okay, I'm born, I'm born in Canada, upper middle class family. My parents were, there for me in every single way, had good guidance, been lucky at poker, had a lot. I've been super fucking lucky, and in so many ways that are outside of my control. Like, I've bbeen very lucky. And then I look, well, you've had all these things go your way and you're still depressed. Imagine how depressed I'd be if, I had, like 95% of people's lives, or, some higher percent. And that actually just makes me more depressed. It makes me feel so like ungrateful. And that just makes me, I think trying to, sort of like appreciate positive things and work on yourself is better than, like, it's very easy to just be like, oh wow, like, if I had a less fortunate life, how would I deal with that? And it makes you just sort of think you're a weak person, and think that, think very negatively about things. So I for me at least, I think that I think when you're in a depressed state, I think that mentality of going and, seeing someone in the hospital or something like that is a way to almost beat yourself down rather than build yourself up. I think at that stage you often need like healthier approaches to your kind of correction, I guess.
Few things here. Loki said it's about doing what you love and having people you enjoy being around in the process. I can definitely see that. Got a few donations here. Let's start with the small one. We got Slot Stoner donated $4.20. Thank you, Mr. Slot Stoner. Appreciate that. GK, new subscriber here. Love your attitude. Choke slam that thumbs up button. I agree. Grab it around the neck and just choke slam it like you're the Undertaker circa WrestleMania 1998 versus Kane. And also my buddy Brandon Shaq Harris, I don't know how to say, Oscillator on YouTube donated $2. And then he lost his mind and donated $350. So this was by far the biggest donation we ever have on the show. $350, Mike. Brandon Shaq Harris. What a fucking legend this guy is. Are you for real right now? That's crazy, man.
That's sick. Crazy. That's very generous, Brandon.
That's crazy.
That's awesome. I'm flattered to be on the podcast when the biggest donation came in. That's sick.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for your years of content. Thank you. I mean, I appreciate you. Thank you very much, man. What more can you say? That's pretty wild donation. What are we gonna do with the money? You know what we're gonna do with the money. I can't say that joke anymore. People take it too literal and seriously. So, but yeah, wow. I don't know, man. It's gonna be a good night tonight, Mike. What are you thinking? Lambo it up. Go get a Lambo and make a memory. You missed the Lamborghini, Mike? The yellow Lambo?
Honestly, I was just thinking about this the other day. I got this like memory on Instagram saying, you know, I had the sold sign on my Lamborghini 2 years ago, as of a few days ago. I don't really miss it at all. Out in Alberta, I have a pretty quick car out there, and so I kind of get that same G-force, but like less, I guess, sort of less stress associated. Like for me, I was always nervous: is someone going to key this car? Where should I park it, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, I think it was something where, even though I had the car for maybe 5 years, I never felt like I always felt like it was kind of like made out of glass or something. I don't think I ever really drove it like I could just drive it off a bridge and not care, kind of thing. And I feel like that is how your car sort of should be. I don't think kind of treating something like your baby or whatnot is necessarily that helpful. So I kind of like I like that with my current car. It's like, it actually does 0 to 60 faster than the Lambo, and it's not like outrageous. It's fun, it's comfortable, but it's it's nothing nothing as insane as that.
What's the car you have now?
I have a BMW X5M.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that one too. Eric Peterson, Lambos are a pain. I've owned them for 20 years. He's right. All right, Eric. BDE, baby. BDE.
Yeah, so I mean, I am glad that I owned it, but I don't miss it, I suppose.
Yeah, I can understand that idea of treating it like a child, and you don't want anything to happen to it. You don't want to break, not only because it's expensive car, but then the expensive to get it fixed as well too, and these sorts of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they definitely.
Landon, should I say it for old time's sake? What do you guys think? Should I say the saying what I'm going to do with the 350 tonight? Should I tell you? I have this old saying.
I think you should. I think you should. I think you should.
The problem is that not only do the stalkers get upset when I say this, anyone that watches it will think I'm then very serious about it, and then they'll tell other people, and then I won't know, and then it gets back to me. So I used to do this thing where if I was like, what am I going to do with the money? Hookers, drugs, blow. And when I first said this, it was because it was on 2+2. No hookers, there were no drugs, there was none of that. I never did anything. I was the most clean cut guy pretty much up until that point. And then I went to Ultra Music Festival with this girl I brought with, and she's like, yeah, like, my family, like, they don't like you very much. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, my brother like watched some of your videos, and he saw this one video where you talk about like hookers and drugs and blow, and like, they don't really like it that I'm hanging out with you because you fuck a lot of hookers and love cocaine. and I was like, what are you talking about? Right? I was like, no, this is a total joke. She's like, yeah, like, no, they think it's very out. And then my mom said something before. She's like, oh, I saw the video. Like, you're not still screwing around with those hookers, are you? I was like, what are you guys talking about right now? So nobody knew that it was from a forum post on 2+2. Everybody thought like I actually just fucking just railed hookers constantly that heard me say that. And unfortunately, that video has like 350,000 views. So what am I going to do with the money? Strippers, drugs. You know what we're going to do with the money? Like it wasn't no shit. It was like McDonald's and Doritos. You know what I'm saying? So people don't understand that this was I was 23, 24 years old. I barely drank. I certainly would never consider doing a drug at that time in my life. But you know what? So I'm very hesitant to say a thing like that because, no, you can rail hookers too. Come on, let's be real for a second.
It is funny. Like, cause I think I made my 2+2 account. I think it was 2005. And I'm pretty sure by 2005, the hookers and blow joke was still already the main joke or whatnot. It's probably it was probably like, whenever the internet was invented, it was probably like, the first message that was ever transmitted was like, nice, now that we have this World Wide Web, we can, talk about our hooker and blow. We have a means of communicating our hooker and blow usage. Like, it's just the oldest joke ever, and it's pretty funny that that's gotten tied to you.
Yeah, apparently in parts of the world, I don't ever talk to those people. I'm known as that. So listen, I'm not nothing wrong with them. I just don't. I never needed to get hooker. Okay, I don't know. It's never been a big issue for me. Maybe one day it's an issue and I got to do it, and it is what it is. And then I'll go back to the saying. So,
Yeah.
Joel said McDonald's and Doritos gross. Now listen, Mike, I don't know how your diet was when you came up, but I've realized in recent years since I talked to LaForte the first time on the podcast that I was very uneducated about my diet. I thought my parents when your parents feed you McDonald's and Doritos growing up, you assume that your parents are looking out for your best well-being, and that's the right way to be. You don't realize until you become educated on the subject that, oh, wait, maybe that wasn't the GTO thing to do. So I used to think it was awesome living in San Diego because I lived by Burger King, Taco Bell, Del Taco, Jack in the Biznocks, and McDonald's. So I used to think I was the man. I was like, bro, I'm by In-N-Out. Like, I got all these fast food spots around me because that's what my parents taught me growing up. My mother did kind of these fast food. And then I talked to LaForte on the podcast, and LaForte's like, you got to drink 7 things of water a day. You got to have your nuts. You want to be eating chicken. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Chicken? Okay, like, no. Like, what are they called? Walnuts? Okay, almonds, walnuts. So since that first podcast, I'm serious to God, that was the first time I ever learned that I shouldn't be having fast food all the time. As crazy as it is, I just never learned.
Were you like 30 or 27 or something at that point, or how old were you?
29.
Yeah, like that feels a little bit. That feels a little bit like no. I'm pretty sure I met you. I'm pretty sure I met you in Vancouver when you were, I don't know, like 27 or something like that. You were in like decent shape back then, or was it just like you were just like, I don't know, just went to the gym and ate McDonald's or whatnot?
Well, no, I used to be when I was 19, 20, 21, like how I am with poker and podcasting. That's what I was in the gym. So I just lived in the gym. I was like a fucking animal back then. Then I found poker. I just kind of worked out to maintain, but I never really pursued it. Like right now, I'm actually pursuing trying to get bigger and stronger, whereas I never did while I was playing poker. So during that time in Vancouver, I just barely ate in general. But when I did eat, it was burgers. It was A&W. It was the burger place down the street. It was the McDonald's couple streets down around the corner. No, it was all fast food. There was I didn't cook a meal. It was all fast food and Doritos and stuff like that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of kind of, misinformation out there. I think I was younger than you, but I was still probably 16 or so when before I put any thought into what I would eat. And it is funny, when I think back to, being 8 years old or 12 years old, I never once thought about this. I never thought, hey, maybe some, junk foods are actually healthier than some of the foods I think are healthy or whatnot. I never read a label. I never figured out really what a carb or a fat is or whatnot. And it's just it's something that you get taught so well. And I don't think it's too big of a deal when you're a kid, when you're growing and stuff like that. But it is crazy just how much misinformation you get fed when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm. You think that your parents are
29. Yeah,
no, go ahead.
29. 29's a little late to figure out this knowledge. I got to say that, but there's definitely it's good to figure it out eventually, I guess. Late's better than never.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's something where you don't know, how would someone know is a lot of ways. I think because I just never took the time to learn. I never took the time to learn how to cook. I was so focused on just playing poker every day and learning about poker that I don't know. I guess it was different kind of in the 2000s. There was no YouTube. And whereas now, if I want to learn something, I just put in Reddit or put in YouTube and I can go watch videos by experts from all around the world on a particular subject. Whereas before you relied on your friends or your family to teach you. So if your family doesn't teach you and you never pay attention to the knowledge anywhere else, then how would you learn it? Sort of thing like that.
Yeah, I really think we're in a very cool era as far as the ability to transfer knowledge. This idea before that, people would write books on stuff, and you'd go to the library and get a book on the topic you wanted to read or whatnot. Say you look at poker. Are the best poker players the ones out there writing the books? No. And it's just that's probably how a lot of human history has been, where the people you want to read a book about some different species of birds. Like, you know, probably within like the high level bird community, people are like, oh, these hacks are all writing books or whatnot. You know, it's probably like, you know, there hasn't been, you know, I think for a lot of human history, it probably hasn't involved the most, you know, intelligent or informed people having the ability to transfer that knowledge to the people who are most curious. And the internet speeds that up so much. I think it's kind of interesting how little the form of education that we do, you know, in school, how little that's changed over the last, you know, 25 years versus how drastically, you know, the learning processes of people who become elite at different, you know, mental things have changed. You know, I think the next 1 or 2 generations, we're in for, you know, huge changes as far as how education happens. And I think it'll be interesting to see. I think that what we're doing right now is somewhat archaic, and we're mostly doing it because that's how it's always been done. But yeah, no, the sharing knowledge over the internet and the ability to get more, you know, diet information from someone who's, you know, not your mom or whatnot is extremely helpful.
Yeah, I think I've met some people who live in bigger cities, and they tell me about, they send their kids to these alternative type of schools where they don't teach the typical curriculum that you would find at most schools across America. So I don't know if how long this might take, or if it ever becomes a normal thing, or if they'll continue to teach science and American history and those sorts of things like that. So it'll be, someone sent me a site here. They sent me a site that says I'm born in June 1982. First of all, can we read this real quick, Mike? I haven't never seen this before.
Sure.
Hold on a second. What is it? Have you ever seen something like this? Hold on, let me read this real quick. This can't be. Joe Ingram net worth. I'm very curious what they say this is. A famous people. What is this site? Joe Ingram is a famous people who is best known as a YouTube star. Joe was born on June 24th, 1982 in Illinois. Where the fuck did they get this from? He has interviewed prolific poker player Luke Schwartz on his Poker Life podcast.
That's amazing.
Joe Ingram is a member of the famous YouTube star list. Poker player who is widely known for his Joe Ingram One YouTube channel. He has earned more than 12 million views there for his high-stakes Poker Live podcast recordings, as well as Pokerstars live streams and interview with poker personalities. On celeb,
honestly,
what the hell?
You know, a lot of people, they live their whole life and they never really accomplish anything great. But getting to interview prolific poker player Luke Schwartz, you know, that's the type of shit you can put on your tombstone. That's the type of shit that, like, you've lived a full life if you got to interview Luke Schwartz. That's impressive, man. That's no one can ever say you don't do anything great. That's incredible.
That's hilarious. My birthday's not 1982. What's going on here? Income 100K to $1 million. Okay. But facts, one of his most popular YouTube videos showing your one plays 50K hands in 20 hours on Pokerstars set world record as a mass score and 350,000 views. He participated in the 2006 World Series of Poker. Okay.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wait a sec. Are you on here? Let me see.
I sure hope not.
Is Mike McDonald on what is this site and why am I on here? This is just completely strange.
Maybe they'll say on mine that Mike McDonald was interviewed by Luke Schwartz interviewer Joe Ingram. Maybe it's like the 7 degrees of Luke Schwartz.
No, unfortunately, you're not on here, buddy. They don't consider making a casual $2 million bets on Tiger Woods to be worthy enough, apparently, of celebs trend now. So
yeah, I think celebs trend now, they don't really give a shit about has-beens. You know, I think they want guys in their prime, and they don't really want, you know, they don't want washed up guys like me.
I mean, I think you're very in your prime, kid. How old are you right now, Mike?
29. I'll be 30 in September.
29. This fucking guy, 29 years old. How's it feel, man? You started off 18 years old, that Jamie Gold clip with the braces, and now you're 29 years old. What's it feel like?
So I mean, the one thing that feels weird is I never once envisioned myself as being old, if that makes sense. You know, I was always ahead in school. I always had older friends. I was always the young guy in poker. You know, wherever I've been, I'm just so used to being the youngest person. And like, say, you know, my girlfriend, she's in her last year of undergrad, and it's like, you know, when meeting her friends, some of them will ask me like, "Oh, Mike, what program are you in?" And I just have the, you know, it's funny, or, you know, went to like a St. Patrick's Day party and people were, you know, expecting me to be, you know, getting drunk and wearing all green at 10 a.m. or something. And it's funny at these times when I realize like, wow, like I'm pretty old and I've become that old guy. You know, every environment I've been in, I've always been sort of the youngest person, and going from that 18-year-old guy who people would kind of, you know, laugh at for the braces or whatnot to being, you know, older than a lot of the people I interact with. It's very strange. It's very strange.
Do you still think live players suck?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. That was, you know, I in my whole 4-hour live poker career, I developed that, you know, all knowing opinion. That was, you know, it's just a fact. They suck.
Can you say it for us one more time for old time's sake?
Live players suck.
Not as much passion as you had back when you were 18.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't just lose jacks to three. I didn't lose jacks to threes in the biggest tournament of my life to fucking Jamie Gold, and then get shit talked on the way out. Like what a piece of shit. Who sees like a borderline child at the table, sucks out on them, and then says, well, "That's what you get for calling the jacks after you fucking won $12 million playing like an idiot." You know what the fuck? Yeah.
Borderline child. This kid with 18th birthday. Ay. Yeah, that was it's a pretty classic clip, Mike. Pretty classic clip there for sure. The commenter on that hand is hilarious because you ask him, you say, "Oh, what's your name online?" And he's like, "I don't play online. I'm Jamie Gold right here." And then you go, people pretend to be like you. And then he says, "Oh yeah, they do it all the time." And the commentator says, "What sick world are we living in where people pretend to be Jamie Gold?"
No, old school poker commentary is so good. You know, it's so, you know, it was always so funny back then.
Now the commentary would be, all right, so he check raised all in. His range is going to be the jack, king, jack, diamond. He's going to have 7 combos of diamonds. He's going to have some over pairs. He's going to have some bluffs as well too. You know, it's going to be a much more, whereas back then you just got something simple like, what sick world are we living in? Pretend to be Jamie Gold. You would never get that nowadays. But also they produced it. They had writers. It's different context for the way that was presented. Whereas now it would be an 8-hour live stream and you'd be tanking for 10 minutes and, you know, they'd have to talk over the tanking. So then they could edit it. And I'm sure it wasn't that long in terms of how it happened.
Yeah, no, it was definitely the way in which poker is done on TV has very much changed over the last 12 years or whatever that's been. It was and, you know, even before my time, like the moneymaker eras, you know, guys roll in, like one guy's wearing a cowboy hat, you know, one guy's got the gold jewelry or something, you know. It's just like it was funny back when like bad players had a chance. Like, you know, it was fun back then.
Bang bang, that's true. They did have a chance back then. Now maybe, you know, they still do. They can win the local HPT and stuff like that. They can still have it. They still have a chance. I think they still are winning too. It's just where we might not be aware that they're winning as frequently or as often as we may have been back then, because we would see players we would deem as bad sometimes winning a lot more events in ESPN. Whereas now, if you're not really hooked into what's happening, the only thing you're really going to see someone winning is like the main event or the 300K Super High Roller Bowl. And the only thing that's really discussed are the high roller wins. So if you don't know, you know, the guy who's a little bad player who won the local Heartland poker tournament in the casino outside of Missouri, you know, that guy's still winning $180,000. It's just, we're never going to know about it because we're not going to watch it and we're not going to hear about it. So right. I think those guys out there are still existing and still winning, but we're so locked in, I feel like, to our own little bubble of the high rollers and the best players online, and you with Pokershares, with listing prices for these top players, that I think it's easy for us to forget that there's a lot of tournaments out there where there's weaker players playing it and winning every day.
No, that's very true. I'm more speaking to the, like, you know, 10 to 30 highest profile events of the year or whatnot. Yeah, and the other thing I haven't heard too many people talk about this, but for what it's like transitioning to live poker, you know, it's like when I started playing live poker, I would have been like a pretty big tell box. but like the number of proficient live players was so low that it didn't really matter. You know, if I was giving away like 4 major tells an hour or something, it doesn't really matter if no one's there to pick up on them. But you know, at this era, you just have, you know, if you're seated at just, you know, a random table in a 3K WPT or something, you've got 5 guys who are, you know, the 10,000th best poker player in the world or whatnot, who have put in their, you know, 8,000 hours of live poker, who are just going to pick up on those tells that I'm giving off. And just, you know, the difficulty for someone transitioning into high stakes live, you know, just based off of, you know, raw poker ability when moving into a live environment is tough. When, you know, it's pretty likely when I started playing in 2007, there were like a few dozen people that were good at reading people, and most of them were so fundamentally bad it barely even mattered that they could read you. And nowadays it's just, oh, you just have so many proficient poker players who both have, you know, reasonable fundamentals and reasonable ability to read opponents, that it's difficult for, you know, you know, a bad player to stand a chance when like the weak pros these days are still pretty fucking good. Is basically what it boils down to. The game's changed so much.
It'll probably only continue to change more and more too. People have 8 more years to get better at the reading ability and the understanding of things. And I'm sure strategy will start to evolve even further past the solver discussion. And I think we're seeing that with certain players who are excelling without being primarily solver-based players, using a sort of hybrid strategy of solver and exploit. And I feel like that's probably will be the next place we go to with poker, or there'll be a new solver or a new something out there that'll sort of change strategy. And it'll be very interesting to see how things develop from now until the future. And I think one thing we do know is that tournaments will probably always be soft. And the biggest reason for that is there's so many of them now and they're all over the place. So I feel like if you're a good tournament player, you should always be able to make money, whether it's off of your markup, off of, never mind, off of just your pure skill. Okay. I feel like you should be able to keep making money off your per skill because you can game select so much more these days for tournaments.
Yeah, the one thing I would kind of speak to that like I think will be a bit interesting is you know, we're in such an economic boom right now, you know, and have been for so many years that, you know, the median upper middle class person feels richer than they normally do, kind of thing. And I think like kind of as looking at poker as just a component of like the broader economy, I think it'll be interesting to see how it does the next time that we have, you know, a big recession. I think that will be one of the big tests as to the longevity of poker tournaments, because, you know, I think there's just, you know, a ton of guys, you know, whatever it is, they run an auto body shop, they make, you know, 150K a year, of which they dump 40K playing poker. You know, there's just like a lot. There's, you know, 100,000 guys like that out there in the world, or whatever it happens to be, and, you know, sometimes, you know, an order of magnitude or 2 above that, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. And a ton of those guys have poker as their main hobby or one of their main hobbies. And I think seeing how people, you know, interact with poker during an economic downturn will be one of the real tests, because, you know, seeing how well live tournaments have done, how soft long-term live tournaments have stayed during good economic times, I think doesn't paint a full picture. I think seeing how things do during bad economic times, I think will be helpful as far as like the, you know, the how poker interacts on a broader scale, I guess. But I mean, I still think it'll be pretty good. But I think that's kind of the one real test to see if live tournaments will stay soft forever. If they, you know, if they keep flourishing through a recession, basically.
Do we know when we're due for one of the recessions? Last one was what, 2007, 2008. When's the next one on the horizon? I feel like you're a little more hooked up on this information than I would be.
I have no idea. I definitely, you know, if you ask me a year ago, I would say, oh, we're due for one in the next year or two, kind of thing. And, you know, it seems like things have been, you know, holding up all right. I mean, if, like, again, you know, this is like when I talk about markets not being that efficient, like, hey, this is, you know, if like recessions, given that recessions exist, okay, people aren't really predicting markets that effectively, kind of thing. So that's kind of like the biggest question, and I have no clue. It's I really have no idea. It's difficult.
You don't have the date in mind. You don't know the date.
Yeah, no, I don't have a date. It's difficult to answer this, and also just the way in which kind of the world is growing. It's things can be so much more exponential now than they could have been in prior times. Which I don't know. In general, these economic cycles don't last as long as this current one is lasting. But that said, where life was different 10 years ago, life was different 20 years ago. So it's really yeah, it's difficult. Like I think it's something where I don't think times are sufficiently different that where our economy is now recession proof or anything like that. But the longer this goes on for, the more that it feels like things are different. So I don't really know, basically.
A throwback question in the chat. Interesting. Any Viffer stories this man might have?
So I actually met Viffer at my second live tournament ever. It was playing. It was a 7,500 buy-in in Turks and Caicos with like they guaranteed $1 million for first, and they didn't even really get $1 million worth of buy-ins. The casino owner had to like put a bunch of his buddies in the tournament to even make that $1 million guarantee. I played cash with Viffer a handful of sessions that week. Basically before I won my EPT, I was mostly a cash player, and then once I won an EPT and felt like I was in good shape financially, I was just like, fuck cash games, I prefer tournaments. But I don't think there was anything that notable, and then I never really saw him again. So we played a few sessions, but yeah, no Viffer stories.
Okay. That reminds me of that Lex Viffer story. I need to go find that story. He had a classic one where Lex was playing at the Bellagio or something like that, and Viffer comes up and puts enough money on the table to cover everyone and says like, I'll flip you guys. If I win, I take all your money. If you win, or something like that, where he gave them an advantage and then he ended up taking all their table's money or something like that. There was some sort of crazy story that Lex told one time. I have to go back and find that on like the first or second podcast. But Landon,
that sounds pretty entertaining.
Rolfo says, guys, can someone suggest channel or topic? How exactly with work? I should have read this first. Work with Pile Solver to understand how correctly work with it. I want a setter theory in the game. Well, I personally cannot suggest a channel for you to go look at for that. Can you?
Yeah, I'm way behind the times regarding that stuff, so I have no idea either.
Okay. Thomas says, ask Mike if he has any funny story about famous poker player Luke Schwartz.
Oh, fuck! It's been a while since I've thought about this, but I won't be able.
Did Mike freeze? I think Luke Schwartz shut his thing down. He's frozen. Luke Schwartz sent the DDoS attack. Wait a second. What's going on here? He did freeze. He really froze. He was going to tell an epic Luke Schwartz story, and then they froze him mid-sentence. Is this for real? Look at his fucking face. He's so excited. You can't even see his face anymore. His computer just restarted. Okay, let's give some shouts. We got to hear the Luke Schwartz story. The pigeon flew into his computer. Let me give some shout outs in. Who we got out here more, man? We got my boy Landon, of course, always in the chat, showing a lot of love. Landon, Mr. Timestamp King, a.k.a. Clip Hunter, a.k.a. the PLO Solver Master. Landon Tice, what's up, Landon? Poker Sasha, going to be on the podcast next week. We're going to have her on before she has a great summer in the chat. What's up, Sasha? Nice shave. Thank you very much, Mamacita, for the inspiration influence. I appreciate you very much, Sasha. Majadi Matija Kachez Papi. What's up, Papi? What's happening? Tony Shido. What up, Big Tone? What's happening, buddy? Nick Peters, Joe Dirt. Chris Perkins. What's up, man? What's up? What's up? Who else we got out there? Who else we got? Who else we got? Yosef Mincer. What's up, Yosef? What's happening, man? Avert T00. Dep DEP Pigeon Alert. I agree. The pigeons are strong right now. We're going to wait for Timex to come back here. Windows 10 update, it might have been. Who else we got out here? Hi, my name is Chris Perkins, too. Hello, double Chris Perkins. ICJ, time for a new hat. Wore that one last two podcasts. You're right, ICJ. I'll put you on my hat patrol. Please be in touch with me when it comes to the hat I wear and let me know when I should wear from. Jeffrey Rutland, what's up, Jeffrey? Timex is computer's restarting. He says 3 to 4 minutes, guys. What do we do? Press 1 if we keep it going and ask a few more things. Press 2 if we wrap it up right now. What do you guys think? 1, we keep it going. 2, we wrap it up. 1 and 2. Let me know. Tomorrow we're putting up a video on some recent high stakes hold'em hands from the online poker world too. I'm excited about that. Jamon Burton, double bicep 1 time. Okay, 1, you want to keep it going? Okay, stop, Landon. You're fucking I gotta time you out, buddy. You keep doing that. All right, if we get enough ones, okay, just can you put 1 time, please? What's going on with you people here? Just once. That's it. Jamon said he wants to see a double bicep flex. Listen, let me see how many likes we have on this video right now. That's too scandalous to do a double bicep thing. Robert Walker, Joey, do you want to complete nobody on your podcast? I'm your guy. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. Listen, if we can get this video up to 175 likes on YouTube right now, I'll do a double bicep flex. Okay, Jamon, that's it. That's all I can do. All right, that's all I can do. 175. Right now we're at 135. Now we're at 145. Oh boy, okay. We get up to 175. I got a double bicep flex in me, okay? But until then, I got to keep these things here until Timex comes back, guys. If you randomly just tuned in, we're waiting for Timex to come back. His computer shut down in the middle of the podcast. Need that Pigeon Boy story. We need a Luke Short story for sure. We really do. 177. You guys are crazy. Okay, all right, I should ask for 200. All right, fine. 177. See, listen. Here's the double bicep flex. You guys can see we've been working hard. Look at this hair. Hold on. Let's see. There's what we're working with, guys, right now. So we got some room to go. We got some more. With some more calm down element, we got some more definition we need to work in here. Shoulders are always pretty good. Traps are getting big. Triceps are good, but could get a little bigger. And the shoulders, we're going to grow those up. These biceps are going to grow. We're going to be getting this a little bit more right there. Boom, that's it. Thank you very much. I don't know why you guys wanted to see that. It's a bunch of dudes in here. You guys are fucking weird, but it is the way it is, okay? That's the progress. That's where we're at right now. If you want to follow the updates, I'm working out every single day. And if you're here during the World Series of Poker and you want to work out with me and you're not a complete fucking weirdo, send me a message, okay? Send me a message. I'm more than happy to have some people work out with this summer. The artist action. You look more and more like Doug now. Thank you. Okay. Or Doug looks like me, you mean? I think that's what you mean. Doug looks like me. Sandy Joy says steroids needed. Nah, not really. Noel Mitchell, gorgeous Joey. Thank you. Thank you very much. Big O win Crypto. Wear that to the next World Series of Poker. You could be the next Doug Polk. You know, I used to wear tank tops before Doug Polk wore tank tops, right? I had the podcast and content for a number of years before Doug Polk started, and I wore a tank top every single episode, okay? So Doug Polk copied my style and my swag completely, all right? You gotta understand. And then he took it to his own level and went past it. And now he's six-pack Polk officially. So it is what it is. Reno Grinder in the chat. What's up, Reno? It's okay. It's not bad. Take out the underwear, Cena says. That's fucking getting a little far. Okay, assistant chatterbait. All right. We got a couple more. All right, Timex is back.
Hey,
Mr. Timex.
Sorry about that. Really apologize for that.
You missed the double bicep flex. I said if we get up 40 more likes on YouTube, I'd give a double bicep flex, and we got there by 30, so I had to do a double bicep flex.
I'm really sad I missed it.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Actually, one comment said, Zubu Combat, don't like how you don't put the guest names in the last podcast title. So I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that, because we're a couple hours in, so I can talk about it right now. So I am doing that because I'm testing out something new on YouTube, and it turns out it really works out well. So for certain podcasts, and depending on what the topics are, depending on what we talk about, depending on who it is, I'm just trying out a new strategy. I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks, so I'll probably do it for about a month, and then I'll decide if I like it, if I don't like it, and I'll edit it from there. But that's what we're doing right now, so it is what it is. Timex, you were going to share a wait, hold on, Killian, Joey, you're legit my favorite personality in the game. Would love to get out of line with you sometime, maybe. All right, Killian, fuck it. Let me know when you're in Vegas. Let's get after it. All right, you know what we're going to do. All right, give us the Luke Short story, Timex.
So yeah, I'm really sad that I can't do this story justice, because it was just such an impressive display of someone being so incredibly childish. But basically, what happens is Luke Schwartz he's at a final table where I think we're five-handed in did 10K at EPT Prague, and Luke has just I think has just gone from he was chip leader for a while and maybe just went from chip leader to second place or something like that, where he was kind of crushing the whole tournament and was still in quite good shape. And he got in some hand. I believe it was against John Andrus. This is like 6-7 years ago, so it's tough to remember exactly. But he got in hand against John Andrus, and John had been playing quite tight, and then Luke Schwartz got aggressively coolered by John. Like, I can't remember if it was kings into aces or like aces into a set or like set over set, but it was some massive cooler. And like Luke even said like, oh, I bet you have aces here, or, something like that. Like it was like one of the most like the value that John was representing had Luke beat, but it was still just like, it was a very clearly impossible fold. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just something that's totally unfoldable, and could plausibly beat value. But anyway, John had value. He held. Luke was eliminated in fifth. And he threw such a tantrum. He's like, of course, nittiest guy in the world. Of course, he's got this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he was so condescending and so mad. He didn't fold a hand. And he stand up and he did this big kick and like kicked over one of the chairs there. And it was just like, he went on and on and on. He's like, of course he's got this. Of course, nittiest guy in the world gets ace to my, on and on and on. I should ask John, because I'm pretty sure it was against John, and I'm guessing he could tell the story better. Kicks over the chair and just storms out of the tournament. And it was just like, he was just being such a baby. And then, at some point, like, he came back later to, get his payday or whatnot. But it was and maybe he even bubbled. Like, it might even be like he came fifth from 4 paid or something. Like, it was some like tragic end to his tournament. But it was the whole kick over a chair in the middle of the casino while whining was pretty damn funny.
I'm curious if Luke remembers this story.
Yeah, I mean, when you're Luke, you've probably got a few dozen stories like this.
I was going to say, this probably wasn't a one-time thing. If this, because we've seen some of his. Yeah. I mean, he's a character. He's putting on a show, right? I don't mind.
He probably even knows like which brand of chairs tip over the best. Like he's been here before. He knows how to make a scene.
You think he's got the solver for how chairs operate and what goes where?
Oh, for how could he not? He's got to have a lot of experience with this.
You think so? I mean, well, the best thing he's known for obviously is wearing yellow.
Yeah, I mean, he's also pretty known for having the Jakeys on.
You still got some knowledge in you. Okay, listen, you're not okay. I'm liking this, man.
Yeah, that was funny.
Gotta write this down. It's such a classic clip. I feel like I know, like we mentioned that hand versus you and Jamie Gold. Dude, I think I've seen more clips from poker 2013 and before than almost anybody in the entire world. Because I'm like an encyclopedia of these moments in my mind of what I know them all. I've seen them all like 25 times.
Yeah, I mean, you likely are one of the guys who knows the most about that.
Just weird. I mean, but it's weird as I couldn't tell you a lot of the memorable moments after that. Like once I stopped playing every day, I stopped watching content every day too. So I don't necessarily, and even maybe like they're harder to find because they're in these 8-hour live streams. Like Jungleman had a recent moment on Triton Poker where he was like, he must have been like high from fucking the 14, 15 beautiful ladies around him still, because Vogelsang opened with 9s. Jungleman has like a stack of time. This is a $150,000 tournament, Mike. The buy-in's $150K. He's got a stack of Timebank chips, treating it like it's the fucking $35 tournament down at the Excalibur or something like that. And he's laughing. He's got kings. He slow rolls Vogelsang. He's like laughing. He's like, now I'm the person with what I said. He stares at Vogelsang and then he goes, man, I'm kidding. I'm all in. Shoves his chip in. Just shoves him in Helmut style when he's snap calling with his hand. And slow rolls the poor guy, man. Jungleman's but my point is that clip was in like an 8-hour live stream. And I happened to see the live stream around that time. So I clipped it out, posted it. But it's like, I feel like all these like really funny moments that people would enjoy never get to see the light of day now because they're stuck in this 8-hour, 9-hour live stream thing like that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Where a lot of the good content probably goes goes unnoticed in this kind of current era, and it's sort of, you know, it's kind of a bummer the way that works out, because there's just like, I'm sure there are, you know, gems being lost. Did you see the video of Jungleman slamming Phil Ivey earlier today, or no?
What?
Okay, so someone posted this video. It's like Jungleman recently won a tournament about, you know, he won some tournament heads up against Phil Ivey, and you know, the interviewer comes forth and they say, "Wow, congratulations on your recent win. How did it feel, you know, playing heads up against one of the all-time best?" And Jungleman's like, "I guess you're gonna have to ask Phil that."
So did he say this on video?
Yeah, I said it on video. I think Russell Thomas put the video out earlier today. But it's a pretty nice slam, you know. Go out there, say you're one of the all-time greats, Phil isn't. It was, you know, stuff like that can go missed because that's in the middle of one of these long Twitch streams or whatnot. And, you know, if someone wasn't paying attention to go clip it, shit like that could get missed.
Wow, what a legend. Jungleman's, I feel like he's had a rebranding going on clearly right now. So whoever's in his corner, his brand coach has clearly told him, we got to rebrand you, Jungleman. You're going to start chain smoking. We're going to be around the beautiful ladies. You're going to be making softcore sex videos. You're going to be changing up your Instagram post strategy.
Is he recently single or something like that? Or what's going on?
He sent me a photo. He's with his girlfriend still because they were together in Montenegro.
Gotcha. This definitely, you know, when you see that guy who gets out of the 5-year relationship, or, you know, recently divorced or something, you know, Jungle's recent persona, it feels like, you know, the guy who's, you know, back out on the market, maybe been reading your PUA content or something. You know, he's definitely you know, he's out there. I expect the dude to be like, you know, peacocking while dropping some eggs or something like that. Like it seems like you're seeing, the mystery method back in action or something. Like something's going on with Jungle.
You think he was at the bookstore and stumbled across an old copy of the game and got some old ideas rejuvenated in his mind? And
I think so. One sec. Random question. Someone in the chat just said, "Hey Mike, do you like Bow's Sandwich Bar in Waterloo?" Maybe this person's seen me there, but yeah, I love Bow's Sandwich Bar in Waterloo. And that's a pretty random question because it's sort of a hole in the wall kind of place. But yeah, if you ever see me in there, come say hi because that place is great. So,
why
yeah,
did I ask this? Do you like Bow's Sandwich Bar? That's a very random question for 2 hours and 50 minutes into a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's kind of random. But
Jungleman must have a new agent. I'm serious. There's something going on with this fucking guy. Okay, you don't start shooting a sex poker game and taking photos around 15 beautiful naked ladies unless there's some. Maybe he does want to be Dan Bilzerian. I don't really know.
Yeah, no, it could be one of those things. You know, I'm sure there are some guys who, you know, spend a lot of their teens and early 20s playing a fair bit of online poker who think that a little touch of the Dan Bilzerian lifestyle might do them some good. You know, I would guess that those guys are out there.
Do you ever anticipate yourself going that way?
I don't really envision it. You know, I think that I don't know. I think there's, you know, I think it's, you know, it's got its pros or whatnot. But I guess okay. So here's sorry that I'm going on so many rants here. But in this, so like you were talking about prostitution earlier, and I.
Okay, my mom, calm down.
All right, no. So basically, it's one of those things.
Can we add some context? I was talking about prostitution in the context. I'm serious. I have to do this in the context of a saying related to the idea of prostitution years ago that became popularized in the internet forum. All right, go ahead.
So yeah, I think that basically, while, you know, I have no moral, like, I'm very morally okay with prostitution, etc. But it's something that I have never engaged in, and I don't think I'd particularly enjoy engaging in, just because it's difficult for me to kind of delude myself into thinking that this is the same experience I'd otherwise be getting by winning someone over. And kind of I would say in a gray area between that, you know, I would sort of put the Dan Bilzerian lifestyle, like, you know, the majority of kind of what he's sort of done is, you know, built this social media presence and surrounded himself with people who are trying to turn their own social media presence into a business, into a career, and kind of has this, dangles a carrot where he'll only really tag girls if they're sleeping with him, and it's this, I don't think there's any prostitution style relationship going on there, but it is kind of like it's kind of like the fame is just being used instead of money. Like, hey, if someone sleeps with Dan Bilzerian, they know tomorrow they're going to get 50,000 new Instagram followers or something, and that is the currency that their business deals in. It seems to me like a more of a real experience than prostitution, but kind of you kind of need to delude yourself a little bit to think it's the same as meeting someone in a more organic fashion. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's something where, yeah, so I guess my rant there is, even if there's, nothing changing hands, I still think it would be less satisfying to the ego than just, you meeting a stranger, them meeting you, and, winning them over with, your, looks, charisma, sense of humor, etc.
All right, I'll expand on that point, because I have experience. Okay, I've experienced meeting these type of women that, in some context, Sasha's in the chat, right? Never mind, I can't tell a story. Sasha get upset. I mentioned this is old school story, but I think that in that situation, you meet women, and you might meet women under the context that I have a bunch of money, but at the same time, you still get to know those women too, and you still have to be yourself, and you still form somewhat of a connection. And maybe one of the strong attractions is that money too. But I think it's still very possible to have connections with people, even though the context you're meeting them under would be a situation like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, there are differing degrees to which that can happen. And there's, there are various, and there are, kind of various middle grounds and whatnot, but it is, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just like, it's an interesting thing to think about, and there are differing ways in which the interaction can play out, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Mike, give us a piece of life advice. One piece of life advice for the people out there today that they can implement today if they want to make billions, if they want to just live a little better life.
Let me think. If people want to make billions.
Just live a better life. Let's not make the billions, but just live the better
life.
What do we know about billions? We're not experts at making billions of dollars. Who are we to sit here on the podcast and speculate about something like that?
All right. I would say basically, I would say basically, just like don't be very conscious of not doing things that fool yourself. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of ways that people can kind of look at their circumstances and think, I don't have time for this, I don't have the effort, I need to spend so much time on this, that, and the other thing. But then if you really look through the times when you've had your highest productivity, highest stress, the times when you've accomplished the most, and seeing how much you were able to do in such a short period of time, and realizing that 99% of your life is not spent this way. And if you have whatever it is, 9,000 hours in a year, you're probably using less than 500 of them to the best of your ability. And you're definitely not using all of them to the best of your ability. I think sort of realizing, if you want to do something, if you want to accomplish something, try to systematically figure out the best way to accomplish it, and constantly reevaluate if you're failing at that, and be honest with yourself. Don't try to be average. Don't try to match your past self. Like, try to think, what is your aptitude and how do you get there? And if you aren't there, why aren't you there? And figure out the necessary steps to get there.
What do you think, Landon? I'm talking Landon, the clip hunter. Landon, we hunt for clips now. We're looking for clips. I'm just trying to be more aware of when great things are said by guests I have on, because I know people would like to hear those, and I think that is some very valuable information for people out there. Do you have a mean, a little past your time, buddy, as we've established already, and you've said a few times yourself, but do you have, dare I say, a piece of poker advice for people out there? Maybe something that you've adapted and learned a new thing, a new area of life. And when you look back at poker, you say, oh, I wish I would have approached this like this because I see how this works here. And that might have worked well for me here.
And this is kind of, this is a little broader than, this isn't like, oh, don't 4-bet with jacks or something, but I guess a broader thing would be, your goal in the game is to make the right decisions. And I would try not to tie your prior decisions and your ego to your future decisions. So what I mean by that is during my poker career, I think I spent a lot of time thinking I've figured out the right strategy. And when a new strategy was evolving and I realized, something that I've been doing is incorrect, I think I was often too slow to react. Like, when the up and coming regs start doing something new, I think I was often too slow to be like, oh, maybe these guys are smarter than me. I'd just laugh and be like, haha, these guys are dumber than me. And then 6 months later, I copy them rather than, 3 weeks later. So I think that, when your goal is just to make the right decision, look at all the information, think, why are these guys doing this? Do a little bit of math, run it through the solvers, talk to some other friends who come from a different background, and then try to implement that into your game. Because, for me, I wasn't objective in that situation. I have my own life, my own hard work, and my own career tied into playing the hand one way, and the other, I have these guys that I'm laughing at. And when I'm comparing, trying to figure out what's the right way, I have such a huge bias toward favoring the way that I do it that I couldn't be objective in assessing how to play a hand going forth. So I think it's kind of, everything that and everything that you've learned, try not to place too much emphasis on that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's hard to be that in the moment, especially when you see a new strategy that someone else might be using, and then as you try to adopt that strategy, you're not having success, and you say, "Why am I doing this when I know this will work for me?" And so I think it's hard to not be results orientated when you're trying to implement something new or a new idea or a new concept into your game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's extremely difficult, and it's something. It's so easy to describe in a sentence, but if I spent 30,000 hours on poker or something, I don't think I accomplished it in those 30,000 hours. So it's a very difficult thing, and it sounds so simple, but I think that's like kind of a few sentence thing where I think it can make your poker game 10% better or something. So.
Anything else we got to discuss, Mike?
Not too much on my end. I think that's about it, to be honest. What about you?
I'm just trying day by day, bro. Right now, my goal is every summer at the World Series, I always say to myself, I should have worked out harder. So leading up to the series, I'm just going extra hard in the gym, 2-a-days in the gym, really focused workouts. I mean, not necessarily in the morning time because I go right when I wake up, but I'm really just trying to keep that discipline of going in the morning to the gym instead of laying in bed, get my day off started, build that discipline of consistently doing something each day and trying to get better at it. And that way, when summer gets here, I won't sit there at the Rio walking around in my tank top saying, fuck, I wish I would have worked out harder because now I'm here. I'm seeing people here. People have been look like they're looking good. Look like they've been taking care of themselves. Here's me. I've been sitting on the fucking beanbag chair watching conspiracy theory videos for the last 3 months on the YouTube. So that's where I'm kind of at right now with things. And that's one of my main focuses is just not wish I needed to work harder, and even on content, not wish I needed to work harder on content leading up to the series too. Yeah, no, and I think that's definitely, no, I like that mentality a lot. And I think that it's easy to kind of get into one routine. And every year during the series, I achieve less than I want. I play less than I want. I work out less. I sleep less. I don't manage to, keep my life in control. And I think with that right around the corner, it's good to set those goals and to verbalize them. So now, when you watch this video 2 months from now and you fell into the same routine, you can hold yourself accountable. Yeah, I know. I'm going to. I mean, I'm trying to post stuff on the Instagram and kind of hold myself accountable then. So that way, if I don't do it, people are like, why are you slacking? Why are you being, that sort of thing like that. So,
yeah.
see what happens. Guys, we'll wrap it up. That's it. Katie Marshall said, my mentor told me the first time I picked up cards to always listen to what other people say at the poker table. Even if they're wrong, it tells you how people think. Katie, that is what we call GTO right there. And that's a GTO way to be.
Yeah.
Definitely. Barry talked about that too. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed the podcast, smash that motherfucking like button. Hit it in the fucking face. Just put it in your ground and pound like you're Habib Nurmagomedov at UFC 239. And Conor McGregor's on the ground. He's been insulting your family. He's been insulting your religion. He's been insulting your entire way of life. Pretend that you're on top of him. You're Russian. You grew up fighting bears and you're pounding the like button. Boom, boom, boom. Smash that motherfucking like button right now for us all. And send Conor McGregor back to where he came from Ireland. Claim your victory. Be the undisputed, undefeated champion of the UFC. And you can do that today by pounding that like button. That's what we got to say about that.
That is a good rant. You know, I hadn't hit the like button yet, but I'm hitting it now. That was incredible. All right.
I started working these new things because I'm trying to add different layers to my like funny fight breakdowns. So I like to like make a reference that some people will understand. Like I said, Shawn Michaels super kicking him like he's at 1995 SummerSlam versus Razor Ramon. And like not many people will get those references, but I feel like they add a little depth to the breakdown commentary sort of thing like that. So I'm trying to work those in a little bit more here. Yeah, no, that's I respect it. Yeah, this is great. And I had a lot of fun. You know, want to thank you for having me on the podcast and also want to thank all the viewers who tuned in for this. Heck yeah. And also check out Pokershares.com if you're outside the USA. If you're in the USA, you're going to get a big fat fuck you message from the site and you're not going to be able to go there. Right? That's true. Still true, right? I think we can do it now. I think we opened it up to viewers. Okay. Because last time we relaunched the software, which is nice. Like it's a lot nicer looking these days. I guess I didn't talk too much about the new developments, but what the hell is this marbles?
Yeah, no. Oh, I guess we didn't. So I guess people wanted to talk about. I guess a lot of the questions were related to other stuff, but yeah, no, you can. We've branched out. We're adding a casino, adding sports betting. The software's all been revamped. You know, I guess there's a lot to talk about, and that was didn't get as much attention as it could have. But yeah, no, we've our site's been growing a lot. It's a lot more than it. Let me get this straight, Mike. We've been talking for 3 hours, right? You didn't feel the desire to maybe chime in and say, "Yo, we partnered with the Marblelympics and we have betting for the Marblelympics on our the site." You didn't think that was a relevant thing we might care about? So I'm not the world's best salesman or anything like that. Like I'm just someone who I like doing things, building things, and trying to come up with ideas that I think are useful. I don't want to shill shit or anything. You know, it's just like I think you build the right business, you build the right product, and it'll sell itself. And we've been getting a lot more traction since partnering with the Marblelympics. We want to expand it and allow betting on a lot more markets that traditional bookies won't touch. So it's like we figured the way that Pokershares worked as a proof of concept, we're now kind of rebranding all of our non-poker stuff under BetShares, and we'll have a lot more forms of markets there. And we kind of want to use that same kind of knowledge and insight that we had within the poker community to allow betting on other niche events. Bro, I got a lot of questions right now for you. I actually have another call for 5. You want to do another one of these in in a month or in a couple months, or even just that personally? I don't understand. The Marblelympics have 8.2 million on their 2019 qualifiers, and you're partnering with them. It blows my mind a little bit. Okay, the Marblelympics. Yeah, no, they're big. They're big. I assumed you didn't want to talk about this since people are saying, oh, you guys should only talk about poker. I assumed you had done your research. Well, I knew BetShares. I couldn't find a website on there. I even when I Googled it, I couldn't find any news. So you told me about it last time we spoke, but I looked it up and I was like, well, where the fuck is something written about this? Sorry. Yeah, I mean, when I was saying there's some big stuff going on with us, I was like, okay, it's I thought maybe you just weren't too interested in this stuff. I was a little hurt, but now it's nice to see that you realize how big of a deal this is, and it's been nice seeing how this has how it's grown beyond just poker, and how just kind of a lot of the knowledge experience we've gained, we've been able to kind of broaden this out. And yeah, we're the exclusive betting partner of the Marblelympics, and now that's actually been probably driving more signups than all of our poker content lately. So it's been pretty big.
How do you partner with the Marblelympics? This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the greatest videos I've ever seen. It's fucking marbles, and it's amazing. I love that. They're like,
it's awesome, and I've got to thank my business partner on that one. Shout out to Veron. But he basically, I showed this to him, and I watched it. I wanted to bet with my friend Steve Silverman when watching this, and whatnot. And he took a look at it, and he's like, "How is there no betting on this? This is genius." The same way people bet on horse racing or dog racing or whatnot. It's like this is a new version. This is like the internet's version of that. There's a lot of people have such strong attachments to their team. It's quick, it's engaging. And we were just like, yeah, they don't have any platform for that. They don't have any gambling experience. And he's my business partner's Dutch. They're Dutch. They met up in Holland, hung out. They got along great, and we formed this partnership.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been really exciting there.
This is cool.
But yeah, no, definitely, guys, check if you like gambling, if you like marbles, check it out. It's we've got a lot of cool stuff, and that's kind of the relaunch and the Marblelympics are kind of our two of our first major announcements. We've got a few more big things in the pipeline for
I can't bet on the site, right? Because what if I made a video about the Marblelympics and I placed a little bet, but I can't do that on the site, right?
I mean, other people are allowed to bet on the site, but yeah, no, I mean, while sports betting is still not legal in your state or whatnot, or while betting with someone who doesn't have a license in that state isn't yet legal, that we don't have any American licenses. As things grow, we likely will. That's actually one of the areas, like when I mentioned earlier how we've been in some talks about an acquisition. It's easier to work with. It's easier to work with larger parties where, if a larger company is getting licensed for their other brands as well, bringing our brand on board won't bring on any additional legal costs, etc. Whereas, for us as a relatively small team, getting licensed in every state would be, a big process and a big distraction from other aspects of our business. So that's kind of, when running any business, you realize the ways it can scale. And it's definitely something where we're looking to do all the things that we can to make it grow as much as within the case with our resources, etc. But I think some others are better poised for this.
I think I'm going to make a video investigating the Marblelympics, my friend.
All right, you should. It's addictive. It's really addictive. I think they have an event today. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I might need to figure out what this is, because this is wild.
It's a lot of fun.
Pokershares.com. You want to bet on the Marblelympics? If you want to bet on poker too, are we going to see more with the BetShares name, or is this just going to be some sort of holding name, or will it transition to that at some point in time?
Yeah, BetShares will be everything within our business that isn't poker related. Pokershares has strong branding attached to that, but if you're a fan of the Marblelympics and you see where can I go bet on this? Oh, go bet on Pokershares. The Pokershares name doesn't mean anything to them. Whereas BetShares is something that will become more knowledgeable, and having bet in the name makes it more clear that this is a sports book rather than a poker website.
Smart.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, similar to what Pokerstars did with rebranding and kind of the names they've chosen they want to be associated with stars, but at the same time, they also want to make it clear it's bet. So BetStars, it kind of makes sense. Very similar concept idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why can't I see who's a favorite for the marble stuff?
Maybe it could be because there's an event going on right now. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it's possible that someone involved with Pokershares is in the chat or whatnot who would know the state of markets right now. But
I click on marbles and it goes nowhere.
So almost definitely. So I think it's because there's an event going on right now.
Okay.
So it's like there's no live markets. If I would guess someone could probably have maybe there's like a screenshot of what the old odds were, but I'm not entirely sure. I've really got to get going. I have another call 11 minutes ago, so I should probably get on that.
You didn't schedule a fucking 4 hour. You didn't a lot. Tell them 4 hour. Give me 4 hours call.
Yeah. I knew these things go long, so I warned them. There's like a 5% chance I'll be late or whatnot. So I probably should have said 25%, but I should hop to that.
All right, get after it, man. Very nice talking with you, my friend.
All right, this has been awesome. It's been great catching up with you. See you later, man.
See you guys. Guys in the chat, we're out of here. Much love, everybody. Appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate Mike for coming on. It's always great to catch up with people who are doing great things out there in the poker world. I think a lot of people might miss the I'll give some real talk. I think that people might miss exactly what they can take away from a certain person like a Mike who's had the top level of success at poker and then transitioned to start a very successful business that's also expanding into other areas. I think people they see that and they might not necessarily think, oh, I can learn something from that person. But in reality, there's a lot to learn about poker and life that also can apply to your poker game if it's poker specific too. So they're so focused and consumed a lot of times by paying attention to the more dramatic stuff and the beef and that sort of stuff that's happening, which I completely understand. That's how a lot of media and content and sort of non-thinking content works. You don't have to really think. You just take in the fucking drama and stuff like that. And people love that kind of stuff. But with guests like Mike, which is why I love having someone like Mike on, who isn't necessarily doing a lot as much in poker right now, but is someone who's doing a lot of really great things that I think smart poker players out there who've had success want to know more about and aspire to be like. So while it might not be the most popular selection and topics that we discuss, I think for a subsection of my audience that I really care about, I think it's important for them to get to hear from someone like Mike and take away the ideas and concepts that he brings to the table. So that's it. That's where I come from. A very behind the scenes sort of strategic look. But then sometimes, we'll balance it with some fucking dramatic shit for you guys out there too. I know how you guys think. So that's it. Peace out, everybody. Dennis Stepkin, Lucky Luciano, Depp, Steve, Hawkerock, TD, Blankished. You said some interesting things during the chat. I see everything. Eric Beck. Much love, guys. That's it. I'm out of here. Matt Vaughn, my guy. Connor, my guy. Are they all both my guy? I don't want to say that. I like Matt. He seems like a very nice guy. Could be my guy one day. You never know. That's it. Peace out. Adios.